Hi, everybody, and welcome. It's January 31st, 2024. This is level 2, lesson 1 of Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. And this is technically the advanced teaching about Merkaba, but it comes before the regular teaching in the way that I have the class staggered. But what I'm going to do today is do a presentation that involves some of, as I jump off at least once per class, to grab my sculpture, continuation of what we've been doing for the first 2 weeks. So starting with the basic foundation in this class of what is this shape? And then I want to relate that level 1 materials to how do we relate this shape to the Merkaba? What is the Merkaba? What is the incomplete or unhealthy teachings about flower of life in Merkaba to avoid? And how to use the Merkaba on its various different levels, from basic foundation through intermediate and up to advanced mastery. I'm always a little bit silly in the beginning here when I talk about this, because some people might say, like, first, a word from our sponsors, but I am my sponsor. I am my sponsor. I also run a side business that is dehydrated broccoli microgreens. And why do I do this? It's not just some random thing or some random way to be able to earn extra money. I do it because, first of all, it's totally not centered around the computer. It's totally not controlled by AI. It is real, like, life force energy growing real seeds with the miracle of germination and everything that happens there. And because I'm not spending a huge amount of my time only in front of the computer, but more to the point, broccoli and a couple of other vegetables contain this chemical that's called sulforaphane that's hugely beneficial to our health, that if the basics of it are broken down, glyphosate in our environment and in the food supply in the body takes out sulfur, and that leads to various health conditions, including cognitive decline, like autism and Alzheimer's, as the body scours its own reserves for sulfur. And that if you eat a diet rich in sulfur, you not only improve your cognitive health, it also helps with blood circulation, the capacity for your purified water that lines the epithelial cells of your veins and arteries to more effectively carry an electrical charge and make the pumping of your heart less laborious in moving huge volumes of blood around your body. So many reasons, including anti-cancer and anti-inflammation, to be able to eat this wonderful product. And I'm like a freedom fighter, so I don't just make random things for random reasons. So I thank you to the people who are enrolled students or people who catch my class and who support the work that I do in this esoteric teaching through the rather practical and literally down-to-earth product that I have there. And it's a great value. So thank you so much for allowing me to do my little brief sponsorship plug. And I'm silly, and I'm lighthearted, but I'm also really serious about what I do. Okay, so now on to the actual essential items that we're talking about. So first, let's start with pictures. I started class 5 minutes late so that everybody who's here saw me squinting and scrolling and doing my silly faces. Now we're recording. I will share some of my artwork with you because this is going to be based in we're going to use a lot of imagery today for me to be able to communicate effectively. So the first thing is this. Can I just move these things, please? This shape over here is not something that I drew, but it's something that I'm sure you're very, very familiar with. It's known as the flower of life. It has been popularized by a teacher named Drunvalo Melchizedek and has become all-pervasive in the realm of New Age spiritual attainment and people that are on their path of seeking. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this shape in any way. Like, I know that there's another teacher that has demonized this shape and said, that's not the flower of life, it is the daisy of death, and other things like that. So I felt like I had to educate myself about that in order to be able to speak to you effectively, because I'm coming from the pristine system and being able to describe these things to you in their divine perfection and not in recognition of any distortions that they've picked up. So this shape itself is accurate, but it doesn't tell the whole picture. This information reaching humanity in its incomplete not fully accurate state might be perceived as agenda-driven, like a suppression agenda to prevent you from being able to truly know and perceive what your superpowers are. And there is some of that, but I'm telling you, I will give you the full recipe in this class so that that way you are fully empowered. And one of the things that you're going to want to recognize as I'm teaching you, this central shape, this six-spoked shape, when you look at the shape of these football lobes, like, these kind of like eyelid shapes. Let me grab my sculpture over here that we'll use in class today, but this little orange sculpture, I hope you can see, these footballs are kind of a little bit fatter, a little bit plumper, a little bit wider. So that is the main inaccuracy. It's not totally the right shape and they're not totally the right proportion. But I also want you to know that this is incredibly valuable information. Like, I actually struggled slightly with the perceived backlash of me sharing this information with you. The Merkaba is a totally valid shape and valid system and a huge tool, and also just a huge education in your own anatomy. So just like I caution people, don't throw the chakras out the window just because you feel like your chakras are hijacked, or because you feel like your chakras are imbalanced, or that something is hacking you, or some unwelcome visitors are influencing you. Don't amputate. So the Merkaba is actually hugely valuable information. Merkaba, first of all, means light body vessel. This is another portrayal that I have. This is a drawing before the painting. And this over here is a still shot from an animation. I didn't do the artwork for the animation. I was art director for it. I created the sketches, and then a digital artist created these images. And of course, I will link to the Merkaba. I did that with David Lear years ago. And that was a wonderful, worthy project, because the Merkaba is not a static shape. It is something that moves. And it is also an inner envisionment and a practice that you do, and an embodiment. It means light body vessel. And this is information that comes to us as a vestigial trace of the incredibly sophisticated antediluvian or pre-flood society that we know as ancient Atlantis, but which I encourage all of you to think of as concurrent Atlantis. As you have a life there right now, you are imperiled there right now, you are efforting to remember yourself and reclaim all the superpowers that you might even have taken for granted in that level of reality. But here, you might be feeling like you're learning this for the first time, but this is like what we taught to everyone in Atlantis, like the way that you teach your children ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and how to tie your shoes. Like, yep, you're gonna have to learn the Merkaba. So one critical distinction is between the Merkaba and this chakra shape. This chakra shape is innate to who you are, and you don't have to particularly effort or envision that you are creating that shape around and surrounding your body and throughout time. It just is an innate part of you. And the Merkaba is something that you do actually have to learn. That it's like learning to have a language or learning to play the piano. It is a skill that you develop with your light body, with your body of pure energy. And it is an amazingly powerful tool. So one of the reasons why there are only partial recipes that are given out by control systems that don't want you to be empowered is because it's an incredibly powerful tool. And then one of the reasons why the seeds of doubt are sown within you about whether you should even use this tool in terms of recognizing there's something called Metatron's cube and Metatronic reversals. This is what I read about. It's a very similar symbol, but with critical differences that it just doesn't do the same thing in terms of giving you consciousness freedom. And so if I shared this with you, but you had antibodies or you were allergic to this shape because you thought that it was a Metatronic reversal, please, just let's clear the palate, have a gentle cleansing sorbet of your mind so that way you can receive this information in clarity, because I know from personal experience that this shape is completely powerful and helps you to act effectively against the control structure, the consciousness suppression regime, and various agendae that are going on. When I do the Merkaba, they're various different, whatever, if they are tiny wires inside of your body, or if they are disembodied negative thought entity consciousnesses or demons or putis or whatever they are, they all hate it. Everybody that's evil hates when I do the Merkaba. That's how I know it's effective. They're like, no, she's doing that Merkaba thing. We hate that. Yeah, many different associations. I usually have to guard against the association with the nation state of Israel, because many people, that's their main association. When they see the star tetrahedron, they think that is called the Star of David, and they recognize it as a symbol on the Israeli flag. So just to be very startlingly clear, this shape is a naturally occurring divine, for lack of a better word, geometry, but polygonal shape is a better word. And it is not only for Jewish people, and it is not only for people from the nation state of Israel, and it is not in any way affiliated with their politics, their regimes, or their value system. They have appropriated this symbol for their own world, but this is something that goes much, much deeper. So let's really speak about this from the most pristine level of the pure world of energy and the pure world of what it is to have an embodiment and how to use both your physical embodiment and your energy in the most effective way. So that brings me to my next, I can't call them slides, but so wait, this one jumped up too soon. I want to show you this one. This one is also too soon. This is what I want to show you. This is a detail from a painting that I created that is called the bridge between squares and hexagons. And this really should hopefully speak to you in symbolic language about what we are doing with the Merkaba shape. You're bridging a dimension. You're jumping into a higher dimension, and in doing so, you gain an additional degree of freedom. That is math talk. So here's math talk. Don't jump out the window, math phobic people. I love you. I'm hugging you. I'm hugging you. You're staying. All right. What it means to gain an additional degree of freedom. That means you can do more stuff. Like if you were two matchbox cars and you could only drive around on a track that was flat on the ground, then you'd be like, okay, who's faster? And you figure it out based upon those basic parameters. But if one of those matchbox cars could grow wings or become a helicopter and jump off of the surface of the track that you're playing against, that car would win, because it doesn't just have to drive around the track to beat the other car. Could fly directly there. That is the value of gaining an additional degree of freedom. Every time you gain a new dimension, you gain an additional degree of freedom. And I encourage everyone, thank you for new people who are finding my work and just tuning in. I hope you will enroll formally for the semester. The class from last week, so you'll find in the playlist immediately previous to this one, is where I talk about building the dimensions, and we'll go over that again and again in class, from the 0th dimension all the way upward through 10th, 11th, 12th, infinity dimension, dimensions of time, and how every time you build, add another layer, add another dimension, add another aspect of complexity to the system, you gain an additional degree of freedom. Every time you do the equivalent of growing wings and being able to be faster or more maneuver in a higher dimensional space more effectively than one who has not done that. So what we're talking about in really mastering the Merkaba shape is building a bridge between what I call the somatic cellular presence of your body. And this is what most people define as self. You're one-faced, two-armed, two-legged body, mostly. That, and I appreciate if anybody has any bodily irregularities. Maybe not everybody has, the same shape, but it's the genuine anthropomorphic shape. And I see that there's things in the chat. I will check out what you're saying in a moment. Thank you so much. But your cellular body is based upon hexagons, which are wonderful. None of this is evil. Like, I want you to know, a lot of symbology and teachings have been twisted, distorted, and misappropriated, but none of this is evil. So what's a hexagon? A hexagon is a six-sided shape. Where I'm wiggling my cursor right here, the edge, the perimeter of this cube is a hexagon. And hexagons, one great reminder that you can think in your mind, hexa sounds like six. Hexa, six. It's six, the X in there, the X sound. It's a six-sided shape, hexagon. And the six-sided shape is one of the most stable and life-affirming shapes in physical reality. You will see things like honeycombs that are built by bees in this hexagonal shape that contains perfect 60-degree angles. And the 60-degree angles are life-giving angles. When you have an equilateral triangle, as I will hold this up for you, but then I'll show you on the big screen too. An equilateral triangle, this is math. Don't run away. Equilateral means that every single one of these sides is the same length. And that also means in a triangle, every single one of these angles is going to be the same angle. In a triangle, the angles must add up to 180 degrees and divided, what's class? What's 180 divided by 3? You can do this. Answer is 60. 60, 60, 60. 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 60 degrees. This is a positive and life-affirming shape. That is why bees build their honeycombs in that shape. Bees are not like, let me build a physical matrix that is a prison of my consciousness, and I will be very unhappy and cry. And I hope you can tell from the dripping sarcasm in my voice that I'm not serious. Because everybody here is like, no, the body as a prison, the Gnostic, view of reality, that materiality is a prison, even the word matrix being a prison, and people saying, I hate the hexagons and I don't like, and 666 is the number of the devil. And again, being slightly ironic and hopefully lighthearted in my presentation here. But carbon and the affiliation with the subatomic structures and the affiliation with the number 6, the 60-degree angles of the equilateral triangle and the honeycomb, none of this is inherently evil. It's actually life-affirming on the level of biological cellular life. If you want to build a bunch of biological cellular life, you should use 60-degree angles and build things in a honeycomb shape. But what you should not do is end the journey there, because you guys are much, much more than just a meat suit, right? Just like the sun is much more than just like this dead, stupid, very bright ball of stuff in the sky that spews out hot gases. It is so much more than that. So you are a physical presence, and these particular, we can call them geometries because they do relate specifically to measuring your earth presence, your physical embodiment presence, the geometries that uphold your body. So what you are attempting to do in your physicality structure is to maintain these perfect 60-degree angles and hexagonal water structures, because the snowflake also has a beautiful affiliation, a positive, life-affirming affiliation with the 6-sided shape. Snowflakes are hexagonal water crystals, and they're beautiful, and they're miraculous. And if you're in a northern climate, like I'm in California, if you're in a northern climate and you have to shovel, you're probably like, stupid hexagons, get out of my driveway. It's wintertime, we can make this joke. You're not like the miracle of snowflakes. But if you really looked at individual snowflakes and you recognize their complexity and perfection, it's just like there's an amazing amount of design, very, very conscious design that goes into the upholdment of the physical and biological life-giving worlds. These beautiful carbon shapes that are hexagonal, beautiful water shapes that are hexagonal, that are the basis of your body, and then some of the initial expansions when sperm meets egg. And there's this initial geometric expansion or polygonal expansion of energies. What that does is create a cellular, like I want to say a glob. A blob is maybe a nicer word, of these cells that are perfectly situated, and they create these shapes that look exactly like what is called the flower of life. It is the basis of your physicality structure, but your journey doesn't end there. You also have non-physicality or pure energy. And that is what this painting is about. So in this painting, you can see, first of all, I have over here these shapes that allude to a cross-section of this shape. This is just looking very distorted because it's not a perfect sculpture. It's just like a little draft out of kids' clay. But you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 lobe shapes, 1, 2, 3, 4 lobe shapes. And then you can also see this is a hexagon that looks flat. And then these are hexagons that look like they're cubes. And that 100% of that has to do with your perception. So for example, if you saw this painting in reality, it is painted on one flat piece of wood. But when you look at it, you're like, oh, that's interesting. Some parts of this look flat, but some parts of this look dimensional to me. That is 100% based upon the additional dimension that you add to it as the viewer through your system of perception and interpretation of reality. That is the big teaching that I have to share with you here today about Merkaba and about interdimensional travel and about how to create your body as a vehicle for interdimensional travel. It is 100% based upon the ability or the capacity to perceive and interpret the raw data that you are experiencing. So you look at this shape in one context and you say it is flat. You look at this shape in another context and you say, ah, it is dimensional. It has depth. It has volume. You add that dimension. A flat painting is two-dimensional. A cube is three-dimensional. You add the dimension. That is the third-dimensional augmentation with your own perception. I didn't say with your mind. It is something even greater than your mind. It is your perception. It is your viewership. It is your observership. And you also do that with reality. I'll show you two more pictures, then I'll go back to my face because I want to tell you about persistence of vision. So these are two drawings that I did of what Merkaba is so that you can get an accurate sense of how it relates to your physicality presence, what it's shaped like around your body, what we do when we're in the actual meditation. I'm not going to gloss over it. We'll return back to there. But, oh, and I hope that I didn't, I just forgot the thing that I was going to tell you about. Oh my goodness, it'll return back. Pardon me for sometimes not remembering everything, but I'll start with the chat. Okay. First of all, oh, okay. So wait, sorry, rewinding back to my sponsorship. Allison wanted to know how much for a bag of broccoli and is it a month supply? It's $13, $7 in shipping. And if you buy 2 bags, they fit into the box perfectly. So you didn't have to buy extra shipping. So that's actually the most economical. And 1 bag is a month's supply. It's a pound of the greens that are concentrated down. And so, yeah, you sprinkle a little bit on whatever sandwiches, soups, they taste fantastic. They don't taste yucky at all. People think like broccoli is terrible. I'm like, no, broccoli is actually really good when you have it in this microgreens form. Okay, so thank you. Brief, switching over to there, back to Merkaba. Aurelia, thank you for being here. Says, I have a quartz Merkaba with me right now. Awesome. I have a little one. Where did my little, here, this one. I know it's almost impossible to see. My lighting situation is crazy. I just got new light bulbs. And another brief aside, just here in life, incandescent light bulbs, guys. Incandescent light bulbs. They made them illegal in the United States. But I found some. You can buy them on eBay. And the incandescent light bulbs, absolutely. Wait, where's my little placard? For the things that we can't actually talk about, the incandescent light bulbs absolutely inhibit this. This thing is a system of false light that communicates through like a light-based Wi-Fi within your own body, very, very harmfully and very, very unwelcomingly and wrongly. Incandescent lights mess with this, mess with their ability to send signals through your body and do anti-life stuff. So yeah, incandescent lights and infrared is absolutely where it's at. So during my day, I've got my regular light bulbs here. And then at night, I have my red chicken light bulb, which I jokingly call my cheeky chicken light bulb because she likes it too. But yeah, the red light absolutely is great for your body, is great for your skin and fries that stuff. So the lighting conditions are crazy here in my studio where I'm trying to show this to you, but I hope you can actually see it. This is this little, I think it's onyx or whatever, but it's a little 3-dimensional model that I have over here. And you can usually find them in crystal shops and rock shops and stuff like that. And just because this is black, I haven't joined the dark side, I promise. I feel like I have to defend myself so much because there's a lot of static on the line. People are very skeptical right now, but I love and appreciate why you're skeptical because you're traumatized. But just sorbet, cleanse, lemon water, just cleanse that trauma for right now. Gary, thank you for being here. I know maybe you're a new student, but thank you and welcome. It's good to be here. It says, y'all, what does Pooty spell stand for, please? Thank you. All right, so new person. So this is an acronym that a longtime student named Pedro came up with years ago. I used to call everyone that are these consciousness residues that are stuck here on the membrane of death, those pesky occupiers of the interstices being the membrane between death and boundary of reality. And then Pedro came up with that acronym, POOTIS, the pesky occupiers of the interstices. And it's stuck. And it's a lighthearted way to be able to talk about something and refer to it that is, more traditionally in your culture known as demons. So it's just a little bit less intimidating, but that's what we're talking about. So yeah, and thank you. Trish got you answered very well over there. Thank you for being here, Trish. And no problem, Joyce. Joyce is apologizing for being late. Thank you so much. I'm not that type of teacher. I am so grateful that you take the time to tune in. And please never worry if you have lateness. If you arrive late, because life happens, and that's just part of, I want everyone to feel like celebrated and welcome in being here. I'm not a super strict art teacher that's like, that's it, you're ejected because you're 5 minutes late. No, clearly no. Okay, so what we are trying to do in traveling interdimensionally with the Merkaba is to utilize effectively the innate capacity that you have to add another dimension with your perception. I knew I would remember. Persistence of vision. This is what I wanted to tell you about. So I look to you right now like I'm moving. I'm walking on a treadmill. My arms and legs are moving. But what's actually happening is you are seeing a series of static images, a series of moments that are actually snapshots of reality that are individual slices of the reality cake separated at the Planck length. Planck length is a tiny, 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 tiny version of measurement that is even smaller than a proton. It's 10 to the negative 35. That's really, really small. And that is literally the smallest slice of reality cake that we can slice reality into and still call it reality. Because if it gets smaller than that, it's like not even a crumb. It's not even in anything. It's like half a crumb. So you tie together individual static moments of reality through a visual process that is known as persistence of vision. And this visual phenomenon has been used in order to create almost all of the visual entertainments that are available right now. Now, right now, you're on mostly a computer or a phone screen that has a different form of refresh rate than the flickering of old-fashioned film-based movie screens. But if we go back to when everything, pre-digital, pre-VHS, pre-DVD, we're in a world now, they were traveling backwards in time. And it's like Rock of the 80s is going to play. And we're in a world where there's only film cameras and only film videos being shown in movie theaters. And the way that the imagery of a movie theater appears as if it's moving is because static images are flashed in front of your eyes at a particular flicker rate that is at least 26 images per second. And if you do that at that rate or faster, then your mind and your perception and your consciousness ties together these static images, creates the connection and the integument to make it appear as if there is movement that is happening on an actual screen. So this is different than VHS, and this is different than digital. VHS has a refresh rate that moves across like the bottom of your screen that kind of moves in lines like this, very, very, very fast up and down. And then the refresh rate as it relates to the digital realm of your screens and computers and phones at this point is a totally different form of technology. But the old-fashioned form of technology capitalizes upon persistence of vision. That basically means you're not in a world where there are these moving objects. There are discrete moments of non-moving objects that you tie together with your system of interpretation in a very sophisticated maneuver that is the same as when you look at my painting and you turn a flat hexagon into a volumetric cube. You're taking something that is non-moving and static in time and turning it into a moving object experience, which makes it a time object of the fourth dimension and higher. And when you do that, you're the magician, you're the magic. The movie projector is just a silly machine. That's what we want to do. If you want to be reductionist, just be reductionist on an actual movie projector, because it's not like the sun or some of these other things that are consciousness based. You're the consciousness. You're the extra magical, juicy variable that makes something be more than just a series of like jerky images being flashed upon a flat screen. So you not only add volume. What is it to add volume? This is perfect because you're looking at your screen right now and it's actually flat. You guys, you're like, Roy, like we're aware that our phone or computer screen is flat. I know. But when you look at me here on this screen, you're looking as if you're looking into a window. Like you see me here, even holding my hands like this helps. You see me in the foreground, then you see that painting in the midground, then you see that studio area in the background. And you build a picture with your mind that is volumetric, where you're like, oh, Aurora's not standing against a flat backdrop. There is depth in the room. Can go all the way back there. I can stretch my arm all the way back there. And there's distance that goes back. That distance is added through your interpretation system. That depth and volumetric interpretation is there because you are reading or interpreting the significance of the imagery that is being presented to you here. I'm really laboring across this point because that is how you travel interdimensionally. And I'm talking to you about interdimensional travel because that is really what we're doing with this shape, with Merkaba. So I told you, in ancient concurrent Atlantis, we taught it to our young people in initiatory education, exactly the same way that you learn basic literacy and basic life skills like tying your shoes. The Merkaba has 3 main usages. And in the, we're in the advanced class right now, but in the beginner class, I talk about like mostly the immune system or protective force field and reality co-creation. The ability to travel between dimensions should be considered a pinnacle of mastery, just like running a marathon or a mega marathon would be considered the mastery of being able to run. And so being able to run at the very beginner would be to run 1 mile, and intermediate would be maybe to run 5 miles, but then to be a person that can run 26 consecutive miles or 100 consecutive miles, that requires levels of mastery and foundations of practice. That could be a whole lifetime. You got it. You got to practice a lot. You got to log a lot of miles. You got to get your muscles and tendons strengthened physically to be able to do those feats, those physical feats of athleticism. The Merkaba is a similar feat of spiritual athleticism, but it is not competitive. So I must bring that up because I come from a non-competitive world, but this is a competitive world, especially in terms of ego competition. And so where I come from, there's like joyful self-cultivation, joyful self-expression. You run and exercise and do things for the joy of doing it. And like me doing my paintings, like when I'm here in this world, I do my paintings, but I'm not like, I'm painting against that guy. I'm seeing if I can be either like more prolific or paint bigger paintings or use the color pink more or whatever it is. Like my paintings are not competitive, they are self-expressive. So use that as your baseline for what I'm talking about here. Because there is sometimes competition within the world of spiritual attainment. But the Merkaba is a personal self-expression. It is an artistry. And so it's not something that is innate to you like your chakras that you don't even have to think about. Like your chakras will do their thing no matter what, whether or not you effort or focus on them. But to do the Merkaba, you have to begin to focus and perfect your conscious control over your imagination and envisionment. And your imagination and envisionment emanates from your pineal gland, from your inner eye, from this amazing, I call it the higher faculties. And to begin working with the higher faculties, we have to have a strong foundation of unconditional love, which is the mastery of mindfulness and the capacity to control your verbalized mind and meditate and get enough gas in your car or money in the bank to be able to do these high-level maneuvers. Just like being able to run, you're gonna have to eat a bunch of calories to be able to support that activity within your body. So the love tone, oh, love, 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 that's kind of like getting enough caloric input for your light body to be able to do these amazing maneuvers using your Merkaba. So mostly we would teach young people about Merkaba as a protective force field. Now, first, let's talk about the basic shape. Just grabbing this over here. I joke about these being like my super high class, very fancy diagram tools over here, but they are. It's foam core and tape. So what I have here are 8 equilateral triangles. I'm making you do math. All right. So I'm like the coach. I'm going to make you guys do push-ups and sit-ups. It's going to happen. All right. So I have 4 equilateral triangles here, 4 equilateral triangles here. And these fold together into a tetrahedron. I should show you how it comes together. A tetrahedron is a type of pyramid that is comprised of equilateral triangles. As you can see, when I rotate it, it is the same on all sides. This is different than the pyramid at Egypt. I'm going to show you what the pyramid at Egypt is shaped like. This is known as the Great Pyramid here on Earth. It has 4 sides that are equilateral triangles, but the base of the pyramid is a square. You can see that's a square. I'm at a very strange angle. Boom, there you go. You can see it's a square, all right? So this is the next shape upward from the basic tetrahedron, and mastering that transition is part of this feat of your perception that brings you into the freedom state of being able to create, can you see this? An octahedron, octahedron. So tetra means 4. Octa means 8. The octahedron is 8-sided. And I hope you can see that this is created. Oh, let's even wait. I have to jump off my treadmill because I'm bouncing too much for you. But I think the lighting is actually good in here so that you can see. If I hold this just right, you will see a star tetrahedron inside of it. It's a little challenging. And I know my finger is kind of in the way. And then the lighting just shifted. And I'm going to show you how to be this. This is the 3rd thing. I didn't even get to the first thing. And I'm jumping already to the 3rd thing, but this is the mastery. Being able to transition with your mind, with your perception, with your creativity, from this star tetrahedron shape into this octahedron shape. You transform from this to this by a feat of your perception, all right? And in doing so, it allows you to be able to travel to another dimension. But I don't want you to go to a bad neighborhood. That's why I give you driving lessons. Merkaba literally means light body vessel. Trish is here and she is in the Middle East. Has a lot of root words in her language that are similar to the ancient vestigial traces of Atlantis. And she told me that in her country, the driver's license says Merkaba on it. It's your license for your vehicle. They use the word Merkaba as a vehicle. Got it? So these are modern echoes of an ancient or concurrent time. Merkaba means light body vessel. This is your capacity to drive places in the higher dimensional world. I want you guys to be good drivers. So I'm teaching you all of the rules of the road and how to drive safely and respectfully in your community. That's what this class is all about, this particular teaching. So this is one tetrahedron. Tetra meaning 4, 4 sides, equilateral triangles. A star tetrahedron is that black shape that I held up that is made out of 2 tetrahedra, that's plural, and one is going to be facing upward and one is going to be facing downward. So here, if you can imagine these two guys are interpenetrating, then you would have that effectively. I showed it to you on the screen. You can go back and show it to you again, just for the sake of clarity. Good. So this is, can I make this bigger? I want it to be like as big on the screen as you can possibly get it. This, you can see the downward facing tetrahedron and the upward facing tetrahedron. Let me now speak about the qualities of these two different pyramids. One of them points upward to the sun and the stars and represents your connection to divine highest reality, pure ephemera, pure spirit, or pure energy. And one of them points downward, you can see over here, and that vertex or pointy part of the triangle points all the way into Earth's core, and it represents your connection to materiality. This shape is the epitome of a balance of forces, both the highest, fastest, least material, least corporeal, most spiritual or ephemeral aspect of reality, and the most embodied, most physical, densest, most, I don't have words for it, but the world of consensual reality according to an objective materialist. Because it's not one is more real than the other, but it is equally real, but the one that is most present in the physical structure. So if you only had teachings or recognition about your cellular body and about the physical structure and the physical world, that would be secular mundanity or objective materialism, and it would be missing out on this whole huge area of your life, which is based in pure information, pure light, pure consciousness, pure spirit. So it would be imbalanced. That's the problem with objective materialism, and that is also the problem with some teachings that are only about your physical body. This is beyond your physical body. This is about your body that is physical and your energy body, or your purely ephemeral body, pure consciousness, how they integrate, and how they integrate into the larger context within which you find yourself, because you are not in a contextless void. You are not swimming around in nothingness. You're swimming around in somethingness. Where does this happen? Where is this Merkaba shape found? It is found in the ocean of time, which is also the ocean of light, which is an ocean of pure information or data or continuum of consciousness. So this is your vehicle, your car, quote unquote. Your car drives on a road. Your Merkaba drives or flies through time. And this is a consciousness cultivation activity. So you know that you're moving through time, not necessarily intentionally, not necessarily consciously. And you know already, even 2 weeks into this class, that your chakras are made of time, and that these are natural time appendages that you experience, however, consciously or unconsciously, wittingly or unwittingly, however aware you are of them, they're there, they exist. Just like you have body parts inside of your body that it's like, are you right now feeling the tiny tendrils that are lining the inside of your intestines? Like, maybe not, but they're there and they're doing their thing, all right? So you have these aspects of self that are non-corporeal, purely spirit, made of pure energy and consciousness. They might be analogous to microscopic body parts that are doing their job, but you simply don't know about them consciously. But your job is to expand your consciousness and come to know about your appendages that are in the less dense realms, higher dimensional realities, and then learn to control them and utilize them. That is what I talk about when I say the education process of ancient Atlantis young people. Like, you have to learn how to use your light body. And you're in a world where you're already a chronological adult, but your light body is just awakening. So you must think of yourself as an infant of consciousness in the cultivation of your light body. Even while you've mastered the physicality realm, you know how to pour juice into a cup and drink it and not spill anything. You know how to tie your shoes. These are lessons for a 3 or 5-year-old in your world. But in terms of your light body, you're not even a 3 or a 5-year-old yet. You're still an infant. You're still figuring out your senses. You're still figuring out your context of time. You're still figuring out what are the basic, like how to eat and drink and swallow. And you need to learn how to eat light. You need to learn so many different things. So you just be without self-judgment, without pride, Like, yep, I'm an infant of consciousness, still, in my diaper on this level. You're still learning to control yourself is what I'm trying to say. That's why you're in driving school, so that you can learn about all these things. And then also, how long does it take to be able to master this? Different for everyone. It's an envisionment muscle. So to be able to build the Merkaba around you, you must be able to envision these various different structures, and then you must be able to envision them moving. And then also, these are simplifications here. There's actually greater levels of complexity. That's why I don't want to overwhelm you. We can go over this many times, but it's exactly like learning to play the piano. Like, you can learn to play Mary Had a Little Lamb, but you can also learn to play complex Mozart symphonies. Being able to travel interdimensionally is the equivalent of playing a complex Mozart symphony. So begin with simple melodies. The first is the simple melody of recognizing that this is an immune system. It is a protective force field that you can construct around yourself or around other living beings or around concepts or around objects. You can construct one around the planet. Now, I'm putting down my stuff here. Like going into battle. Put down my stuff, because now I got to talk about Mars. So, we just did galactic history a couple of weeks ago before I restarted the semester. I teach you guys all about what happened on Mars in the creation of an artificial Merkaba that was totally destabilizing, totally not respectful to the larger fabric of time that it was created within. I would even say intentionally a big giant screw up, very poorly calibrated, could also be called a crap time machine, very bad time machine. Like a good time machine is totally, I'm a good time machine, all right? Totally accurate. I tie everything together. I make all of my loose ends tie together, all of my causality events tie together. Everything is good. Crap time machines are easy. Do you remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer Simpson makes a time toaster? Every time he makes a slice of toast, the whole world changes. It's like pressing the big red button and the whole world changes because it's based on now I'm just going far afield. But Ray Bradbury wrote this story called A Distant Sound of Thunder that was about time safaris. That if you could go back in time on this time safari, but as long as you stayed on the path and didn't diverge from the path, and you could see like dinosaurs and all sorts of cool stuff, right? So this guy goes on a time safari and then he returns to the future, and the future is totally unrecognizable to him. And they're like, what's going on? What the F did you guys do? And then he looks on the bottom of his shoe and there's a butterfly. He stepped on a butterfly when he was in the ancient back in time safari. And that one little change reverberated and magnified throughout many, many eons, and then brought him to a future where everything was unrecognizable. So The Simpsons is a silly cartoon riff on that, rather profound science fiction story where Homer Simpson gets a time toaster, and every time he makes a slice of toast, he's rearranging reality to the point where it's like, this reality is totally unrecognizable, and he just is like, he looks outside like, no, wrong reality, make another slice of toast, wrong reality. He's playing all the wrong notes on the piano. He doesn't know what in the world he's doing. It's terrible. It's a crap time machine. You got it? Good. So comedic, lighthearted presentations help us to get through these difficulties of recognizing this, because this is profound trauma. I'm talking about really profound trauma in your solar system and in your lives, and what happened with Atlantis. Why did Atlantis get invaded? How did it get invaded? It got invaded when these guys on Mars made a crap time machine, a very, very poorly designed, probably intentionally poorly designed, Merkaba shape around their planet that went caca-kablooey and smeared those guys across time in a very, very bad way. And then they got into your DNA because they did not have a planet or a place to be. So yeah, and with time, and I've said this before, and Charlie B sometimes has reminded me of this, like with messing around in time. Time is big stuff. Time magic is big stuff, big responsibility. You have the capacity to make, tiny shifts that have huge repercussions. And if you don't know what the F you are doing, you can really make enormous grand scale mistakes. So my motto is like, don't make a big mess unless you are prepared to clean it up, unless you have a giant time-sized like time, the entirety of all space, time everywhere, unless you have a bucket and a mop that is the size of the entire cosmos, don't go messing around with time. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can still make really giant mistakes. This is beyond even just like children playing with firecrackers, and like at the very worst, if you're playing with firecrackers, like maybe you will hurt one person in the vicinity. But if you're playing with time firecrackers, you can kill everyone. You can destroy all time. You can make everything uninhabitable. Very, very bad, deep stuff. So these guys on Mars, I think they kind of knew that, and they're very irresponsible in what they're doing. So that's why there is trauma surrounding the concept and utilization of Merkaba as it relates to time. The ones who were and who are, and we are, in Atlantis are time experts, because what you have to also do is you can't fly blind. You got to have your Christ chakra activated to be able to see what the F you are doing. Homer Simpson did not have his inner Christ chakra activated. When he was doing his time toastering, he was, first of all, using technology. You should use nothing more than your physical body. You are the technology. Don't need a time twister or to build any apparatuses. So anytime anyone's like, I've got a great idea, let's build an apparatus that will create this Merkaba, then you should be like, skepticism. You should be like when my dog doesn't want to go someplace, she puts her paws out, like she's like, no, I don't, you're gonna have to drag me there. I don't want to go in that direction. Don't want to go in that direction of building anything. You are the Merkaba. And I said at the beginning of this presentation that it is largely through the mechanism or apparatus of your perception that makes it possible to be able to create this interdimensional miracle of flight and travel. Your perception, your envisionment, you as the viewer, you as the experiencer, you're the machine, not machine, you're the apparatus, you're the thing, you're the thing. Don't build the thing, you are the thing. So they built a thing on Mars that went caca kablooey. Then they came to Earth, and then they built more stuff here that also went caca kablooey. It's very, very bad. And you don't want to build stuff that's like that. And you can analogize it to some of your particle accelerators that are on this planet right now. They're not specifically Merkaba shaped, and the Merkabas that were placed on other planets and in other time places were specifically located at various latitudes surrounding the planet. And I'll also tell you that this planet has had esoteric satellites, so non-earthly technology that have been deployed around your upper atmosphere, creating artificial Merkabas for consciousness suppression. So it's like, you know, it's like anything, like a tool like fire. Fire can be used to cook your bacon and eggs and make beautiful breakfast. Fire can be used as an incendiary weapon to destroy whole villages. It's not the tool, it's the way that this is used. But using it unconsciously or with malevolence can have devastating effects, and has had devastating effects in time. Cue the flying rainbow lasagna. This is a cosmic bucket and a mop. I'm here scrubbing the toilet because there's been a huge sewage overflow due to very, very bad time toastering that has happened. So in this is driving school, and I'm telling you, like, yeah, there was a giant multi-car pileup on the highway over there. You don't want to have that happen to you. Don't be like them. All right. So now here's what you should be like. You should begin with the practice of envisionment, and then recognize that the Merkaba is a living protective force field around you. And you can create a living protective force field around your loved ones, again, objects or concepts that you care about, and the planet herself. So yes, very, very positive to envision Merkaba around yourself. I envision one around my dog. You can envision one around something abstract like your finances. And what would that equate to? Because we're going to talk about the specifics of it, but as an immune system or something that is protective, putting a force field around your finances. What does that mean? When I put that, I envision that it's going around my bank account. Now, I don't go to a physical bank because almost nobody has physical banks anymore. It's all done online. So you have to use like symbols for the way that you do this. You have to symbolically shield. But what I'm doing is shielding my personal finances from anybody that wants to identity theft, hack my system, steal my money without my permission, charges made, you know, using my card, and then impostorship, fees, things that are unfair, protect my money. This is exactly like in the physical sense, you use a lock and a key to be able to protect your valuables. And in a non-physical sense, you use the Merkaba to protect things that you care about from negative events in time. You got it? I'm going to say it again. The Merkaba is a protective force field to protect you against negative events in time, right? So if you make a very, very bad Merkaba, it doesn't protect you from bad events in time. It creates bad events in time. That's a bad time toaster. It's a crap time machine. It's literally the antithesis of everything that Merkaba is supposed to be. That's what I have to speak to when we talk about Metatronic reversals and other things like that. So I'm going to give you the full recipe and make sure that you are well-versed so that you can drive your car effectively. I'm also telling you, like, when you drive a car, like it's a rite of passage in this world here, and it's a rite of passage to be able to get your learner's permit and then your driver's license. And it is the recognition of increased levels of responsibility and independence and freedom, that you can do more in your society, but you are also expected and required to face greater levels of responsibility. Same with Merkaba. You can do more when you master this, but you're also expected to level up in your levels of responsibility. All right. So in teaching you about this, my languaging from 10 years ago and from some of my previous classes, I teach about the upward facing pyramid, the one that touches on the sun and the stars and pure ephemera and abstraction. That is often described as the male. And then the one that is pointing downward and is pointing into the earth is often described as the female, as being receptive, chalice-shaped, analogous to female anatomy, and the male, pointy, 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 analogous to the phallic symbol and pointing upward. But I think we could just ditch all of that. You know, just throw it out the window. It's languaging that doesn't really serve us anymore. And I think that it's much more accurate to talk about the upward facing pyramid as being directive, because all of this, now I have to rant about the genders that people are born as and what is perceived as characteristics, personality characteristics based on your gender, being a man or a woman. And in this world, leadership characteristics, having an opinion, being forthright, being specific, is considered to be a male quality. I'm amazed at that, because clearly I'm very specific. And I've also heard like things like women can't paint a straight line or be accurate with math or other things like that. I'm like, my head is exploding. My brains are liquefying. I'm like, what? No, I don't understand. Someone, I'm helping. But that is the traditional gender roles in your society are males as being leaders, males as being forthright, males as being accurate, and females as being kind of amorphous, cloud-shaped, receptive, maybe a bit wishy-washy, and deferring to the directness of males. Throw it out the window. All right, none of that is truthful. And I am a biological female, and I contain so many of the qualities that are traditionally in the bifurcation of your culture ascribed to males, that hopefully I'm just breaking the boundaries and making it a moot point. It is no longer relevant to describe personality characteristics based upon whether you're a man or a woman. But there are some aspects of the Merkaba that do relate to the differences in your maleness or your femaleness in terms of how you spin your counter-rotating fields. That's truthful, all right? But the characteristics of whom you are as a person are not limited to your body, your biology, or your reproduction, or whether you're a man or a woman. That's not related. So yes, women can be strong, forthright leaders, paint lines that are, accurate and measure things, and to have specific desires. And males can be receptive. Males can be nourishing. Males can have the softer, more accommodating personality characteristics that are often previously ascribed to female behavior. All right, so throw it all out the window. In the two, pick up my sculptures here, counter-rotating fields that you're creating and envisioning, the most accurate and best way to think about them is the one that points upward, that you sit within, is the realm of your specific desires. And the one that you sit within that points downward to the earth, I often call this one chef's choice, the cosmos, or that which is even greater than you can imagine from your current perspective. And it's really essential to have a balance. These two polygons and the movement of them around your energy field represents balance and respect and positive levels of integration of divergent characteristics. That means that when you are making this conscious co-creation force field around yourself, you're allowed to have very specific desires, very specific wish list. Like, dear Santa, I want this. But then sometimes you have to be open to that which is even greater than you can imagine as your desire right now. And I call that chef's choice. Because when you go into, let's imagine a 4-star restaurant, and you've heard about one of their signature dishes, and you're like, I know exactly what I want to get. I've came here thousands of miles to be able to come to this beautiful, fancy restaurant, and I want to eat this. And then you're sitting down at your table and you're about to order whatever is the magic food, caviar encrusted egg or something like that. And then it turns out that there's a chef special on that day. That's even better than their signature dish. That's made with the freshest ingredients and the most care and the most artistry. And it's not something that you could expect because the chef only makes it on this one occasion. And sometimes you defer to the chef's choice, because although you think that you know what you want, and you've read all about this amazing 5-star restaurant, that there are things that you don't even know about that are available in the kitchen that only the chef knows about, and the chef is God, all right? So when we're doing this as a conscious co-creation journey, you must be in balance between what you know and your present level of information and motivation as an individual, like shard of consciousness, or like, little tiny spark of consciousness, a fractal, and the wisdom of what is available from the highest level perspective, the most holistic and integrated levels, which is God's perspective. That's why sometimes it's great to defer to the chef, because the chef not only knows like what's the freshest ingredients, but the chef knows your tastes. The chef, God chef, the chef that is known as God even knows, like, on this day, this person is going to come to my restaurant and they are gluten intolerant, but they love fish. And I'm going to have the most amazing, like, coconut encrusted mahi mahi available for them. And that you thought that it was going to be this when you went to the restaurant, but this was literally made and created and all the ingredients sourced specifically for you. And when you're doing the Merkaba, what mostly happens is a blending of these two things, a blending of your own expectations and desires from your present perspective and your present level of development with the larger, holistic, highest self perspective of God that really integrates everything into the fulfillment of your wish. This is about wish fulfillment. And we have to talk about the responsibility of making wishes and wish fulfillment. But first, let me just drink a little bit of water. We have to begin with the basics. Like in ballet, you must begin with the very basics and practice your foot position and things like that. So you have to begin with the basics of how to create a protective force field around yourself. So the Merkaba is an immune system, in exactly the same way that you have an immune system in your physical presence that protects you from microbial attacks. And your physical immune system is a series of selective barriers: the barrier of epidermis, the barrier of your cell membranes, the barrier of your nuclear membranes. And the decision-making process at each of these barriers to choose whether or not a particle or an organism or an energy can come inside of you. Is it something that is positive and life-giving? Does it add to you staying alive, or does it bring you closer to the membrane of death? If it brings you closer to the membrane of death, the boundaries say, stay out. You're not allowed to come in. And if something comes in and it's bringing you closer to the membrane of death, your immune system says, get out, get out, get out. So we're talking about like amoebic dysentery, viruses, whatever, the bubonic plague, all of these things. These are non-life-giving microbes. You don't want them to come inside of you. So you have this physical immune system that ejects stuff out of you. And that is what the flying, I want to say flying rainbow lasagna, that is what the Merkaba is. So I do Merkaba every time before I do flying rainbow lasagna because I want to have a protective force field, because I'm going to be driving my car in my lasagna car into all of these amazing time experiences in the highest dimensions. And I want to make sure that I'm only exposed to positive and life-giving force fields, forces, vectors, thought forms, consciousnesses, and or interactions with entities. And I don't want to interact with pathogens. Pathogen is anything that is non-life-giving. Pathogen is anything that brings you closer to death. Pathogen, pathogenesis is a disease creation. And diseases are aberrancies. These are not things that are supposed to be in existence. They're things that are never supposed to be in existence. And the Merkaba as an energetic protection force field protects you from events in reality happening to you that are non-life-giving. Like anything that's going to kill you, it can protect you from. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing tool. Yes, yes, you want this tool. Yes, good. Good, because I just heard and felt a lot of skepticism drop away. Like, oh, that sounds really great. Yes, it sounds really great. So how do you use this as a protective force field? First, I will delineate, then we'll go into the specifics. The Merkaba is able to be used in three main ways. And this is what I have in my video that I did with David Lear. As an immune system, energetic protective force field, number one. Number two, as a reality co-creation mechanism or wish-making machine, for lack of a better word, wish-making apparatus. And number three, as a vehicle for traveling interdimensionally, all right? And each one of these is successively that much more difficult or challenging to attain. You must build the muscles, but you also must build the focus to be able to contain these envisionments. And I have lovely people that have been in my class for a long amount of time. It's not a secret to share. Lucy is like my DVD publisher from back when people did DVDs and everything wasn't streaming. And so that's over 10 years ago. So I've been teaching her about the Merkaba for a long amount of time. And she once confided in me, she was like, it took me 5 years to be able to just envision it with my mind. And I'm like, that's totally fine. Like there is not a taskmaster that's going to hit you on your head if you don't do this by next Tuesday. So it is a part of your own inner development. It is not something that has to be done according to a mundane schedule. Big, big, big in terms of self-compassion, allowing, and simply doing the work and being secure in the knowing that you will be able to do what you need to do when the time is right, okay? So it's not a pressured self-cultivation. It is an allowing, which is ideally what something like yoga is like too. Like you do self-cultivation, you move through these movements, and then you naturally flow, but you don't have to have a goal like next Tuesday, I'm going to do the downward dog. I'm going to master it. All right. So it's part of your journey. Think of Merkaba as part of your self-cultivation and part of your journey. Okay. How do you use it? So this is the critical teaching and driver's lesson. The basics are that into the upward facing pyramid, you place specific desires. This is why it has been associated with, male characteristics and leadership. I use ice cream as my example every semester, okay? Let's say, well, this is actually for manifestation. So let's begin instead, rewind all of that. For just shielding and protection, what is on the menu? It's shielding and protection. So into your upper facing pyramid, and I do this every time before I do stuff. Like if I'm going to go on a road trip, I'm going to drive my car someplace, I put these desires into my upward facing pyramid and I envision this Merkaba around my whole entire trip where I'm going to go. I would like to arrive at my destination safely and journey home safely. I would like to have all of the comfortable, fun, enlightening adventures along the way. I would like to be able to have all of the food, water, and body sustenance that I need along the way. I would like to have, of course, bring my dog with me and I have everything that I need. My possessions are protected, and that my home is here when I arrive, when I arrive home safely. And then I'll just flip this one. In the downward facing pyramid, I will put things that are about being receptive to higher consciousness, like to be guided towards the best events, to be meeting the best people. Because how do I know what are the best people? How do I know what are the best events? How do I know what are this? How do I know what are that? To be receptive to the best parameters and best experiences that I can have in that particular trip. All right. And then what I would do after putting these envisionments into these various different tetrahedra is envision that they begin spinning. All right. So now I have to sit down. Wait, I'm going to stop my treadmill for a minute. I'm going to tune my thing down. See, I got a lot of dog toys here because this is where Cheeky likes to play. All right. So I usually do the Merkaba seated like this, just like in the drawing that I shared with you there, because this is a comfortable body position for me and my posture and my body. But if you feel that this is not comfortable on your knees, your hips, or your back, you are not required to sit this way. You can do the Merkaba while standing up. You can do it while seated in a chair. You can do it while laying down in bed. It is not based in the body position. But what I like about this body position is that my lower body naturally creates a type of base of pyramid structure, where you can see my two legs as they converge into my pelvis are like two of the lines of the triangle. And then the third line of the triangle goes from knee to knee. So when I sit in this posture, I'm like, oh, I already feel like I have a pyramid, and the pyramid has one face that comes up in front of me, almost like a windshield, and then comes to a point. You can envision it either above your head slightly, or even maybe a whole 6 inches or a foot up above your head. Okay, so a pyramid of the size that is larger than your whole entire body. And then you have one vertex of that upward facing pyramid that points outward from the base of your spine. Then the other pyramid I envision, if I stick out my hand from my chest like this, that is where one of the vertexes is or are. And then my two arms coming out like this and this are like two of the lines of the triangle. And then the other line of the triangle is shoulder to shoulder back here. So that helps me to do this envisionment. And the one that points downward, you can envision the downward facing pyramid as being like, onto the Earth's crust. But you can also envision it as being all the way into the center of the planet, like all the way into Earth's crystalline core. And that is the beginning, like doing your figure skating or doing your beginning ballet position of how to do this. And you have to use your inner mind muscle of envisionment, your inner movie screen, to be able to envision these things in your body, around your body. So if I'm going to go on a trip and I'm going to put this around me, but I'm also going to envision this around my car. So I use my imagination to envision my upward facing pyramid, all of the fun, safe things that I'm going to do when I go on my trip. And I envision my downward facing pyramid, and I put into there the receptivity to, let's say, being guided by the chef of life that's going to give me good stuff. And then this is critical. In order to activate this intentional force field, or quote unquote, press run on that program, you get these force fields spinning. I'm a woman, and so I take the one that points outward from my heart and I spin it around to the left. And that creates a spinning force field at shoulder level that is spinning around like this. And then I take the one that is at the base of my spine and I spin it around to the right. and I envision that it is spinning in this direction. So you've got one that is going around like this and one that is going around like this. If you are a male, you might want to experiment with spinning it in the opposite direction. I encourage everyone to say, do what feels right to you. Because it's just like if you're going to be doing snowboarding, like some people put their left foot forward when they're going down the mountain. Some people do their right foot forward. Like it's not about right or wrong. It's about your personal comfort and efficacy. It's just something that you're doing with your body. It's like being a lefty or a righty. Like it's not really something that there is moralistic right and wrong to do it. It is about what works and what feels most comfortable with you. So that is why I share with you how I do it. You must find your own path. All right. And the ability to envision use spinning around your body is itself its own mind muscle that you must cultivate. It's actually very, very challenging to be able to do that envisionment. So just be prepared for that. You might have to work assiduously. It might take years, it might not, depends on what your inner talents are like on that level, but it's an incredible skill to be able to develop. And I have developed this skill so strongly that I do shields up, like shields up. I have someone coming into the meeting, so I have to jump up. Shields up, just at a moment's notice. I do it in a dream. I do it if I'm in my car. I do it in any situation when I'm starting to feel distressed or endangered or whatever. Shields up. And for me, it's as straightforward as tying my shoes. So like I use that analogy too. When you were a little tiny child and you were just learning how to tie your shoes, you had to focus on everything. And you had to teach and learn like, okay, I make these loops. And then I tie, one goes around like this, and then one goes around like this, like real focus, real concentration, real practice with the dexterity of your fingers. But by the time you become an adult, most of us have mastered tying our shoes, and then you can do it very quickly. You can do it while you're talking on the phone and balancing a cup of coffee, and then you're tying your shoes and putting on your dog leash at the same time. Like it's something that becomes second nature, is the vernacular. So when you really practice Merkaba and really embody it quite profoundly, it becomes second nature. And so if I am in any situation, I feel like I'm under attack or something is unsafe, shields up, and I just do it, boom, kapow, because I have a huge foundation of muscle that I've been building for a long amount of time. So that's just for the very, very initial aspect of using Merkaba as a protective force field. Because the first thing is, if you want to travel interdimensionally, you have to make sure that you are going to be safe. You have to have an immune system so that you're not going to pick up every hitchhiker, pathogen, crapola thing in the world when you go out there. So you start with a protective envisionment. I still use this protective envisionment, just like I still tie my shoes and I still have an immune system. And I use this protective envisionment every time before I do Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So every time you do some kind of inner spiritual work, anything that would be considered astral travel, astral projection, meditation, doing stuff with your mind, doing stuff with your spirit, creativity, even making love, even the act of procreation and creative partnership with sexual energy. Over. You might want to put up the Merkaba force field, because that will help you to be able to do those activities safely. Every time you get in the car, I want you to put on the safety belt, okay? I'm your driver's instructor over here. Want you guys to be safe. Every time you're going to do this type of work, put on your safety belt. I also say it is an analogy similar to my gym mat over here. So when tumblers and acrobats and athletes are learning how to do something in the gym, you want to make sure that you have a soft landing. If you don't do it just right, because you're in the learning process, you want to make sure you're not going to fall down onto concrete and bricks and have a horrible injury. So if you're just learning how to do stuff in the higher dimensional realms, like astral project, meditate, go into other worlds with your mind, create things with your mind, you want to make sure that you have a soft landing if you make any mistakes. if you have any difficulties, if you, are going through your learning process. That is literally what the Merkaba is, a protective force field that will protect you from blowback so that you can learn without having a mortality event, which means dying. Yeah, instead of being like, let me press all the wrong notes on the piano and find out what is the, I'll be the guinea pig, and if I die, I know I did it wrong. No, your life is not disposable. You can't do that. So it's a protective force field so that you can learn and have a soft landing. And if you fall on the mat, get a tiny bruise on your butt, that have a complete destruction of your whole body and death. All right. Because what you're doing is experimenting with time. You're doing time toaster stuff. And you really have to make certain that you are protected from blowback and that you're really able to go through your learning process without being completely destabilized. So I put Merkaba around Cheeky all the time. And I do that when mostly we go out to the PARK. We just went there before we came to class today. And anytime Cheeky's gonna meet and play with another dog, because you never know how it's gonna go. Like sometimes dogs are really nice with each other, sometimes they bark, sometimes they try to bite, you don't know what's gonna happen. So every time she's gonna go up to another dog to play, I just put a little Merkaba around her, around the other dog, around the whole entire situation. And what that means is we are not trying to control anybody's behavior. We're not trying to control the other dog or the other owner. What we're trying to do is make sure that if the other dog or owner is having a bad day and they're not into it, that we're able to simply get through the situation without anybody getting hurt. All right. And what that means.
What's tomorrow?
Oh, let me just mute you because
Okay, what? February. Oh, yes.
If you're in class, to mute yourself. Yes, it really is disruptive. And also hold on. Well, I'm going to tell you, finish my analogy with Cheeky, and then we'll give her a little bit of food. But you can't use the Merkaba to control other people. That's bad driving. That's like crashing into another car on the road. You're not allowed to do that. We're going to take care of Cheeky. Hold on. But what you are allowed to do is put a Merkaba around the situation so that every dog might not like Cheeky and every dog might not want to play with her and every owner might not be nice to me. But if they're not into it, we simply walk on by. We have a command, we say, walk on, and then we just kind of like, go past that. That is what the Merkaba is about. Like, there's not going to be blood, there's not going to be, distress, there's not going to be yelling, nothing like that. That is what you do. So hold on one moment, because Cheeky is barking and I have bribes prepared for class. Hold on one moment. So just to really reiterate, because this is a hugely important point in terms of how do you ethically use the Merkaba? How do you ethically do manifestation? How do you ethically fly through time and control reality and use magic? You do not control other people. Control yourself. You contribute to the situation. You make requests. You do not control other people. Here's things that you never do in a car. Like, you never crash into other people. You never crash into other cars. You do not crash into telephone poles. All right. Here's what you never do with the Merkaba. You do not use this to try to make someone fall in love with you. You do not use this to try to make someone buy your stuff or give you money or give you an opportunity or give you a job or make you famous or any kind of thing like that. You don't use it to control other people's reaction to you, but you do use it to protect yourself from blowback or other people's possible negative reactions or repercussions. So you don't use it to control other people, but you use it to protect yourself if they are unpleasant or non-ideal or anything like that. And are you allowed? So here's the distinction. Like, let's say you're a woman and you are deeply, deeply infatuated with a man, we'll just call him Mr. X, and you really, really want him to be your husband. You cannot use the Merkaba to put into your upward facing pyramid. Like, I want to marry Mr. X and I'm going to wear this dress and we'll get married at this church on this day. You can't do that. That is not acceptable. But what you can do is put into your upward facing pyramid of your Merkaba your desired characteristics for your future husband. and say, I want to marry someone who's like this and like this and like this, and I would like to wear this wedding dress on this day. And then into your receptive pyramid, you also have to put in that you are receptive to, things that you couldn't imagine, and possibly, qualities and characteristics that might be surprising to you. And then you press run on that program, and then you see who your husband is supposed to be. It might not be Mr. X. You got it? You become in co-creative partnership with the larger time structure, meaning that you must be open to your desires being fulfilled in a surprising way. Anything other than that is exploitation of time. That's if you're like, I only want it like this, I only want it my way, that would be considered like negative egotism, negative egocentrism. So the Merkaba is a positive balance of egocentric desires and holistic desires, because you don't just want what is right for you, you want what is right for everyone. Let me just drink a little bit here. When you drive on the road with your car, physically, you want what's right for you. You want to get to your destination. But what you don't want is to have everyone else die in a car crash so that you can get to your destination. Do you understand? Same thing with Merkaba. You want to get to your destination in time. If you're using marriage as an example, you're like, yep, you have a desire. You want to get to the destination of a timeline where you are married. But what you can't do is crash everybody else's car while you are looking for your own levels of self-fulfillment. That is not acceptable, because when you get into the level of being able to use the Merkaba, you must take responsibility for the way that you're interacting with the dynamics of larger time dynamics, organisms, organizations, the planet, time itself, and other people and their lives, and the complexities of their lives must be respected. So let's also use like getting a job as another example. You can't say in your upward facing pyramid, like, I want blah, blah job. I want to work for blah, blah company. I want to have this much money per month or per year. And I want to drive this type of a car. And I want my corner office to be here. You can't do that. You cannot do that, because that would be like trying to control the hiring manager or the boss or the CEO of the company. But what you can do is you can say in your upward facing pyramid, here are the qualities and the characteristics of my dream job. I would like to have a corner office that looks and feels like this. I would like to do this and that with my day. I would like to earn this much. And then your downward facing pyramid, you must be receptive to where that is going to be fulfilled. It might not be with company 1, 2, 3. It might be with company red potato over there. And that's different than what you expected, but ends up being the real fulfillment of where you are supposed to be in the world. So this is a balance of your egocentric desires, which are totally appropriate. The desires for love and companionship are totally appropriate. Desires for career advancement are totally appropriate, but you must be receptive to the cosmic infrastructure and the larger network of causalities that you are nested within. So, because I'm going to talk about responsible wish creation now. So I alluded to this in a couple of the other lessons of this semester, because as I talk about responsible reality creation, targeted advertising comes across my videos that I watch because I talk about these things. So I get all of these targeted advertisements from different schools of manifestation, like the Silva method and Abraham Hicks and all these different things. And I am not, denigrating these different things that people are doing, systems that they're using, but they are definitely like the beginner's coloring books of being able to actually be a real artist. When you do the Merkaba, you are a time artist. And it requires drawing skills. So doing a coloring book, there's nothing wrong with that, but everything is already drawn. It doesn't require drawing skills. It is a much, much pre-beginner level of what it is to be an artist. So Abraham Hicks and some of these other Silva method levels of manifestation and different schools, many of them are not ideal because they are purely on the level of egocentric manifestation without the integration into the larger whole, and that is not in balance. Because if everybody did that, if everybody served me, then everything would be total crap in the world. And that is not sustainable. It's not longevity, and it's not coherence for the entirety of time. So when you go into the restaurant and you're like chef's choice, you're open to chef's choice. The restaurant is the cosmos. The restaurant is time itself. It is the experience of being alive. And we can't exploit the restaurant into the point that it's out of business. Because if you're always me, and I want it this way, and give it to me now, and you're not receptive or sensitive to the needs of the restaurant or the chefs or the waitresses and waiters or anything that is part of you serving you this experience, then it's not sustainable. So you want to make sure that you get satisfied with your meal and that the restaurant is still maintained to serve other diners who are going to want to come there and have a similar experience. That's what you really want. So my brief criticism of simplified manifestation modalities is that they do not often have the scope of scale, of vision, of being able to integrate individual desires and manipulations of time into the larger time currents. And you must, in order to be really good as a driver, you must get good at that. You have to be able to do those perceptions and calculations. In fact, I wouldn't even say you're merely a driver. I would say you are a pilot, in the same way that an airline pilot has to be able to know about calculations, know about wind speed, know about their vehicle. Like, there's a lot of accuracies and sobriety that is required in being a pilot. And that's very, very different than just being like sitting in the, airplane with your little snack tray down and bringing tiny pretzels. That is not a position of responsibility. That's when you're just a passenger. So what you are doing with Merkaba is you are literally you're captain of your ship. You're the captain of your soul. This is your starship. Guys, this is called the star tetrahedron. This is your starship. We do not fly in a clank metal spaceship. We fly in a starship that is made of pure energy. And you have to go through flight school, and you have to make certain that you are that you have the accuracies and the calculations to be able to navigate and know where you're going. So the first thing here in driving school or pilot school is learn to have an immune system, learn to press run on that program and spin your Merkaba. And then the next thing is you begin with smaller, low-level experiments in reality generation, co-creation, and wish making. The Merkaba is a tool for wish making. So many people have made wishes in an amorphous sense. Maybe when you were a little tiny child, they taught you when you see the first star at night, how's it go? It goes, starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might have this wish I wish tonight. And then you wish. And maybe you're a little kid and you're like, I wish for ice cream, right? And that's fine because you're a little kid and you want to wish for ice cream. You can do the same thing now. What you're learning is a formality, like the formalism of playing the piano. You're learning the chords and the musical structure of the cosmos to be able to make your wishes effectively and responsibly. So how do you make a wish effectively and responsibly? In your upward facing pyramid, what you do is you put specific desires. And I always use ice cream as the example. That's like if you said, I have the desire for a specific flavor. Let's say I always choose Cherry Garcia ice cream, and I want it to be in a blue dish. And then I have actually a tiny ice cream spoon that is shaped like a tiny rainbow flower. I want to eat that ice cream with a tiny rainbow colored flower shaped spoon. And you can say on a specific day, want to have it on a Tuesday. And you can say any other things about it. If you're like, I want to eat it under a tree or looking at a purple flower or whatever it is, those are specific desires. And then in the receptive level of your wish making, here is how you do this. You look for the feeling states that the fulfillment of your wish will give to you. I am looking for something that's a cold, refreshing dessert, not specific. I want something that feels good when I swallow it down my throat. I want something that reminds me of summertime. I want something that reminds me of childhood freedoms and exaltation. I want something that feels like a reward. I want something that is fun. I want a fun, sweet, refreshing dessert. All right. And then also the feeling state is satisfaction of hunger, your sweet tooth is satisfied, saturation with, these wonderful indulgences. And then you press run on that program. All right. And that is when you then experience the melding of these parameters, specific parameters and non-specific parameters. And through the non-specific parameters, that is where the chef of the cosmos acts. So again, if you were to talk about how to have your dream job in your receptive pyramid, you would put things like, I would like to be financially stable. I would like to have build my savings account and build my 401k. I would like to have the other things. I would like to be proud of the work that I do, feel celebrated in the world, be proud to tell my parents and my family members what is my job. I'd like to have like a business card or, a professional website that makes me feel good, makes my shoulders go up and makes me feel good about who I am as a person. Totally fantastic. When you press run on that program, you might get something very different than the ice cream that you expected. You might not get Cherry Garcia ice cream. That would be like working for a particular company. You might get coconut pudding. You might get something that's different, like when you put frozen bananas into the Cuisinart, like healthy bananas, chocolate, and peanut butter put into the Cuisinart. That's not ice cream at all, but it's kind of ice cream-ish, and it can be really good, and it's super healthy. So it depends. It's an adventure. The activity of dynamic co-creation with the cosmic infrastructure becomes a wonderful adventure. It means that you're not just a passenger seated in the plane while the pilot is flying and doing all the heavy calculations, and you just sit there and eat mini pretzels. That is not fun. That is boring. That's why they give you the mini pretzels, because it's boring. What's much more fun is to be engaged in your life and to be able to say, wow, like I made a wish and it kind of semi came true. And to walk through life kind of expecting those wishes to come true and to manifest, and then being surprised by the way in which they manifest. Like it's not an exact wish granting making type of thing, but because also, please know, our wish making apparatus over the past several years has been totally very screwed up and diminished. And a lot of that is because of the implantation of this stuff connected to AI and the hijacking of sexual energy and creativity and misappropriation of that into the machine world. So a hugely distorted reality structure where you don't always have your wishes fulfilled because some crappy supercomputer has been distorting reality. And the supercomputer is like the soup Nazi from Seinfeld. I'm using like very outdated cultural references, but I hope that you know them. He was like, no soup for you. He was like, you can have the soup, no soup for you. And it was just like random and arbitrary and ad hominem, dislike of certain people. Like, I don't like your face, no soup for you. That's what the AI is like. So, because you might be like, Aurora, like over the past 2 years, like I've been wishing and I've been trying and this and that, but it's like, no soup for you. That's because it's a stupid, malevolent AI that is not God, that is usurping a lot of power. So that's the cautionary tale over the past several years. But in a pristine system, you get to make these wishes, make these desires, and then walk around in this wonderful exploratory mode, being like, wow, like I can't wait to see how my wish is granted. So way back when I lived in Woodstock, and I had only been here as a walk-in for a couple of years, I was just exploring using a Merkaba within these contexts. We hadn't yet been overrun by this AI crapola. And yeah, I remember the first time I manifested a chocolate bar because I sat in meditation, I did my Merkaba, and I wasn't specifically thinking about this chocolate bar, but then I got up, went out into the world, and I walked into this coffee shop and I saw the chocolate bar with all of these patterns printed upon it. And I was like, I did that. That was from the stuff that I just did with my consciousness. And then I was like, wow, like that's fun. That's cool. That's really nice and gratifying and fulfilling. And then, I wanted to go on to greater levels of manifestation. But I'll also say that here's the cautionary tale. When I was living in Woodstock, I would definitely say that was the starving artist era of my life. I was also mostly in obscurity. And I remember feeling very upset and like life wasn't fair and like I didn't have enough money and it felt like everyone else had money and other things like that. And I was like, I want to have money. Like, I want to have this. I want to have that. And I had like a lot of attitude. So I'm telling you this because you're in driver's school and you're like a 16-year-old getting your learner's permit, but don't, even though you're a teenager, don't have attitude. Because I had attitude with what I was wishing for. I was like, I'm going to get into a Merkaba. I'm going to wish for a bunch of money. I'm like, I got a pile of cash, but it wasn't what I really wished for. It was totally monkey's paw. If you know that cautionary tale, the monkey's paw, you get 3 wishes, but with every wish, you're like, I wish I never got the stupid monkey's paw. So yeah, it was definitely not the wish fulfillment that I had hoped for. And then eventually it's a puffy mat. I didn't die. I just bruised my butt a little bit in the experience. But it all worked out. The money went back to the person that it was meant to go to. But I learned, like, you got to be super respectful and specific in the way that you're asking. And it's very much like having a relationship. So here's how I can characterize this for you. You know, even in a relationship, like with family members or spouses, where it's just expected, like you will give to one another, you should ask nicely. It's really, really not nice to be grabby or gimme or entitled and full of expectations. It's much, much, much better to ask in a reciprocal way. Like, I would like this from you. And of course, I will give this to you, but not in a quid pro quo, but just in a sense of like asking nicely without a sense of entitlement and expectation. So please make your wishes to the cosmos and to the divine presence with that level of respect, which is really inner respect towards yourself. And I love myself in my, you know, young walk-in, it's not quite teenage, but like, you know, tween years angst. And because now, of course, I am much more established as an artist, and now I do have money and resources and all of those things. So I know why I felt that way, but you should not ask in that way. And then I learned. And then I survived my learning process. And that's why I'm here teaching you about that. So I usually share that story, not while we're recording, I'll share all the details when we're not recording, but just you can fill in the blanks with your mind. I did nothing illegal. I swear, I did nothing illegal. And everything worked out fine. But you really have to be selective about how you make your wishes. And I also learned this. Here's another driving tip from Aurora, in Aurora's driving school. Don't wish for money, because really, you don't want money. What you really want is freedom and the capacitation that money can give to us in this world, where money is a marker for resources, a representative for resources. In this world, money appears to be the tool for freedom, but what you really want is freedom. What you really want is empowerment. So you don't just want money, because money does not do you any good if you can't actually spend it, if you can't actually do something with it. Like, I think about Princess Diana from the British royals, who's no longer on Earth. But when she was on Earth, like, she had lots of money, but it actually wasn't hers. She was not free to go around and spend it the way she wanted to. She had many, many beautiful gowns, but they weren't really hers. Like, she had crown jewels, but they weren't really hers. You got it? They were part of this larger family infrastructure that she really wasn't free to be exactly who she wanted to be in the world, be uncensored, be unfettered, dress the way she wanted to dress. Like, all of this stuff was like her behavior was extremely controlled. Or like, I know other people who are blessed to be in a family that has a lot of money, but then also not so blessed with family judgment. Because one of these lovely people said to me one time, because I always wear these rainbow outfits, she was like, I would love to be able to wear those rainbow outfits and dress like you. I'm like, well, you know, why not? And she was like, no, my family would disown me. I'm not allowed to dress like that. And that blew my mind, because I had always looked at her as like, she's got lots of money and can do anything, right? That's what you think. You have lots of money. You can fly anywhere. You can buy anything. Like, my dress is like, whatever, $75. Like, she's definitely got that. So it wasn't a limitation of her bank account, but it was a limitation of how she could spend her bank account. Got it? Starting to get there. So you think that money is going to make you happy, but you don't really want to wish for money. What you want to wish for is the things and the freedom and the capacity to enjoy them that will actually make you happy. So just be really, really selective in the way that you create your wishes, and your intentions matter. Best languaging I have is intentions matter, So really, hone your intentions. And it's okay if you find out that you're being egocentric, or not even egocentric, because it's proper to want to have resources. Like when I was a starving artist, I wanted resources because you know what, like I wanted to be able to start a clothing line, you know, like make larger projects and do cool things. It was all proper intentions. I just had a lot of attitude with the way that I asked for it. I thought that money would, you know, give me that freedom. But what I really needed to do was start my own clothing line, you know, do these larger projects. And so that is what my words, I'm like laboring to try to get this across to you. I hope that the intention comes through in my energy. So your attitude and your intention absolutely matters. And the way that you do this wish making absolutely matters. And then now I would say, very good at wish creation, which has a lot to do with just being very selective in your languaging, very focused in your creative activity. And mostly what I do with my wish creation is I wish for freedom. Things that you cannot buy in stores. Things that are so incredibly valuable that they are not material objects. Because again, if you have a dress or you have crown jewels or whatever, you have material objects, but you don't necessarily have the freedom to be able to enjoy them. So now I am just very, very selective in how I make my wishes and use my wish-making energy. And I almost always wish for the abstraction of freedom. And that means literally freedom from this stuff being implanted not only in myself, but in the whole world. Freedom from AI interference in reality structures, freedom from being attacked or limited by, you know, like benighted souls that don't know that you shouldn't be hurting people. Like that is what freedom is to me, not like some giant chaos free-for-all, you know, whatever melee where everything is just incredibly violent. That was, some people think that's what freedom is. That is not freedom. Freedom is, you know, the being free to experience these states, and that it's something that largely no one has really even experienced, the true freedom state in this world. So that's what I mostly wish for. But it is also righteous and appropriate for you to explore your wish-making facilities. This is also analogous to, like this is driver's ed, it's not supposed to be sex ed, but it is a little bit sexual education, because when you were probably in middle school and beginning to go through puberty and your reproductive system was coming online, your elders in your society are like, we're gonna have to teach these kids about stuff so that way they don't do stuff that can lead to other stuff. So yeah, it's your body. Literally, you're a creative powerhouse. You're creative, generative powerhouses as human beings. And it's your right. It is your right to make stuff happen in the world. It's your right to make, just like you're producing the cells of your body and you produce offspring and you produce ideas and you make things happen in the world. It's right. It's proper. It's not actually something that you need my license or permission to do, but I want you to do right. And I want you to have the right value system so that you are creating and generating and using your juicy sexual energy powers to be able to make the world better, not having blowback from wishes that have gone horribly awry, a la the monkey's paw, which was a different Homer Simpson episode where he actually does get a monkey's paw and then he wishes for a turkey sandwich, but the turkey sandwich is a little dry. But the turkey is a little dry. Which is, you know, just a silly pop culture reference to unfulfilling wishes. Like you get the thing that you wished for, but the turkey is a little dry. It's not exactly, item not as pictured in the advertisement. So you have to be certain when you're making your wishes that you are going to avoid disappointment by putting into your receptive tetrahedron the fulfillment state, what it feels like when you're fulfilled, what it feels like, so that your turkey isn't a little dry, so that you are satisfied with the things that you receive. Because the cosmic infrastructure is not actually some cruel mistress that is ready to like smack you down and be like, how dare you wish for things. It's actually a really, really loving presence that wants you to be respectful, reciprocal, and totally wants to fulfill your dreams. And then, yeah, at a certain point, you will wish for things beyond materiality. You will wish for abstractions like freedom and your capacity to move forward in a pristine system, which is really the greatest level of freedom. It's not to have giant piles of caca poo poo doo doo everywhere, consciousness residues and other bad entity stuff that you have to constantly be battling against, cleaning off, shielding against, or protecting yourself and others from. That's very tiring. You really want to have a pristine system, okay? Wait, I'm going to talk about lots and lots of other stuff. I'm just checking my time, but I have to get into the third thing. So I'm telling you, I am not going to give you only a limited view of what the Merkaba is, partial recipe, and leave you in a disempowered state. I'm going to give you the full teachings, so that way you have the whole entire recipe and you are fully empowered. And the final thing that you can do is to travel interdimensionally. So first an immune system, then a wish-making manifestation tool or apparatus, and then finally a vehicle for traveling interdimensionally. Here's how we do that. So, and I have to go through how this relates to your chakras, but I also want you first to know, wait, get the annotation, get the color. No, color. Wow, sometimes you can tell it's just, I will not complain. I complain. I watch my shows. I watch my classes, guys. I know I complain a lot. Like, this pen doesn't work. Everything is bad. Stop complaining. It's good. It's fine. It's great. This you can see is the star tetrahedron shape created out of the two interlocking pyramids. In order to do the shift of perception necessary to get into a higher dimensional state, here's what you have to do. I'm going to draw these as lines on this diagram. Then I will show you with my physical items, my little cutouts. I know that's not a perfect line. That's terrible. I have to fix it, guys. I have to fix it. So hard. I'm complaining. All right, and then this one goes from here to here. Really, oh my God. Okay, and then this one goes from here to here. If life would possibly work for me there. And then this one goes from here to here. And then this one goes from here to here. It didn't work at all. Man. Try it again. Okay, that is a very, very rough approximation of a tetrahedron. Sorry. That is a very, very rough approximation of a hexagon. I used the wrong word. So that blue outline that I just drew has 6 sides. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my God, what just happened? This go away. Something happened. There we go. 4. Start from the beginning again. We'll get this. No, that one go back. Okay. 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hooray! We can count to 6. That is a hexagon. It has 6 sides. Out of that hexagon, we are going to create the octahedron. So I do that now by emphasizing this line that already exists, this line that already exists, and this line over here that already exists. That gives you the octahedron. So you can, let's count the sides of the octahedron. I think I'm already confusing you. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. Number 4 is behind this lady's head. 4. And then 5, 6, 7, 8 is facing away from the camera. 8. Still 8 sides. Okay, don't worry. I'm going fast. I'm gonna go through all of this without confusing you. The first thing is just look at in this octahedron shape. When you look through it, you see how you can still see this pointy vertex here. You can still see this pointy vertex here. And you still see like these echoes of the star tetrahedron in the octahedron shape. Okay, now let's go back to the actual, and I'll get to your messages too. Sorry, guys, sometimes I go by fast without looking at the chat. Okay, so wait, this is what I want to try to show to you. Let's see if the lighting will work for us. To hold it just right. Kind of get the focus on the camera. There, that's a rough approximation. See if I can move the light a little bit better. Better, worse. Worse. Better. The background, better, worse, better. You can barely see it. Oh, I want you to really see it. Well, anyway, let's move it really close to the camera. Let's move this all the way around. No, still really, oh, that kind of does it. Okay. See what I'm showing you here? Here and here, those two places there. You're looking through this crystal and you are seeing through the face, like through the windshield of the crystal, the echo or residual structure of the star tetrahedron. I feel like that was very unsatisfying for you, like you couldn't really see and sense what I'm trying to get across to you. So when you do this switch of perception, it is exactly like looking at an optical illusion. When you look at an optical illusion, you want me to pull one up for you? Let's do it real fast. Picture's worth 1,000 of my moving, flapping mouth parts. Just have to find the right picture here for you here. It's in here somewhere. Wait, it was right there. I know I had almost everything prepared for class, except for this. Let's show you this famous optical illusion. All right, on the one hand, on this optical illusion, when you look at this image, let's make this bigger for you. When you look at this image, your system of interpretation might initially say, ah, it is a picture of a young woman in profile where you see kind of her jaw, and she's got a feathered hat. It's kind of pointing away from the camera. But then if you look at this drawing in another way, it's like, no, it's an old babushka woman. And she's got like a large kind of curved nose. And then here's her eye. And then here's her babushka. So on the one hand, it's like, wow, young woman with feather, old woman babushka, young woman feather, old woman babushka. That flipping back and forth is 100% the muscle that you're using to do this. It's the same lines. I'm not drawing or erasing more lines. I'm not changing the basic structure of what you have there. What I'm asking you to do is change your persistence of vision, your system of interpretation, the way that you take the raw data of reality and put it through your interpretation lens in order to create a context of truthfulness. So that is what we are doing with the Merkaba. What I'm asking you to do is to go into this star tetrahedron shape and transform it using your system of perception. I'm going to go into this one too. Wait, no, go to this one over here. This one's really important because this one shows very, very well, and I can make it go bigger. The curved basic shapes of your chakras, which are the 4 vortexes and how they converge. So right where my cursor is, that is singularity. You have singularity at the center of all of this. Then you have an upward facing vortex here, a downward facing vortex here, and then 2 vortices that come out to the sides. And then you can see how all of that relates. Wait, let's see if I can get the annotation. I can draw this for you. Annotation, will you come? I have to ask it. It's like an animal. Like, annotation, are you here? Will you come? No, annotation's not going to come for me. It's not feeling it. So see if we can do it again. Annotation does not want to be tamed. Does not want to listen. Do it. If I do it fast, it's there. Hooray. This is one big giant circle that comes out like this. And then this is another big giant circle that comes like this. And then you can see vortex up here and vortex over here. That is also critical infrastructure in comprehending this. You also have another vortex that comes around like this and comes around like this. And of course, these guys go like this and this. It's the worst drawing I've ever made. Okay, but you got it. 4 vortexes superimposed upon the star tetrahedron. Comprehending that is critical infrastructure. The 4 vortices are made out of curvilinear shapes. That's one of the first things. So we're bridging not only a lower dimensional and a higher dimensional shape, but we're like you're body cellular structure and your world of pure energy, body of pure light. We're also bridging two different types of lines, one of which is curvilinear or like sine waves or like circles, and one of which is straight edges or straight lines. So this is really, really important to be able to see how the four vortices of your chakras fit together in order to relate to the Merkaba. Now, last week I did the 0th dimension all the way up to the 12th dimension. Let's talk about how that relates to the building of the chakras. So this is not advanced stuff. This is recap, but wait, stop. No, too many things are going on. Help me. Stop. We have to go to the whiteboard. Where's the whiteboard? This is what I want. Okay, so just as we began with the 0th dimension, you begin with the 0th dimension or a dot in order to be able to build the chakra. Then you also have a loop, like a hula hoop, a flat loop. And then if you do, so that's first a dot, then this flat loop, that is the next dimension. Then if you add together enough of those flat loops, that is how you begin to create this basic torus shape. It's just the worst drawing. I want to talk to Zoom and be like, can you please update your pen? I'm dying every time I have to do this in class. It's roughly a torus shape that you can comprehend. There's the vortex up there and there's the vortex down there. And then in order to create the next vortices, you just changing color here. Spin it end over end. This guy spins end over end to here, and this guy spins end over end to here, and that creates that vortex there and that vortex there. It's the most unsatisfying drawing experience I've ever had, and I'm breaking my own rules about not complaining and wet. So anyway, that is how you create the vortexes from like a la in the style of building the dimensions. Constructing the dimensions. So this shape, how is this shape created? You can envision this shape as being created by beginning with a big, giant, stretchy beach ball that then gets puckered in these directions. But you can also envision this shape as starting out from the 0th dimension. Then you have one circle that is created. Then you put together many, many multiples of these circles, just like I constructed this sculpture. And then once you have that donut shape, then what you do is you turn the donut shape over and over like this so that it creates these vortexes here. That was actually a not satisfying full recipe. I'm sorry that I didn't quite get that across to you, but that's okay. You have a connection between the curvilinear figure-8 shaped structures that you're working with as your natural chakra shapes and the straight line polygons that you're working with in terms of creating a Merkaba. All right. So mastering that integration is a big part of mastering this. And what you should know anytime you've got a structure that has straight lines like this, what you're really doing is additive math, where you have 1/2 circle that goes like this and 1/2 circle that goes like this, and they neutralize out in order to create this flat shape. So a downward facing half circle, like semicircle like this, and an upward facing semicircle like this. If you do this plus this, it neutralizes out to this, which is a straight line. So this would be like a -1 plus a +1 neutralizes out to 0. So every time that you see a structure that has straight lines like this, please comprehend that what you're really looking at is the reduction of the complexity of circles that are all fitting together and nesting together in order to create the straight line shape. Let me get to some of these questions. Interesting. I don't know if that's too personal, Aurelia, for me to share your comment. It's okay for me to share. Aurelia says, is also a walk-in and said, I walked in after my natal soul experienced a spiritual blowback to rebuild and repair the damage. It's fascinating. So you're here on like a time fixing mission. Very interesting. Good to see you, Pedro. Trisha says money is within abundance. Yes, absolutely. So this is back to in referencing when you wish. If you wish for money, if you're not just wishing for money, you're wishing for money and also the capacity to use your money as you wish, and the capacity to use your money as you wish in a world that is a good world. I'm getting a little silly because it's been a long class, but at the end of class, sometimes I talk about stuff like this. There's an old Twilight Zone episode of this guy that wore glasses and just wanted to be able to have time to read. It's like, all I want to do is have time to read. And he wishes for time to read all the books in the library. And then there's some kind of a nuclear conflagration or end the world scenario, blah, blah, blah. He's the last man alive on Earth. And he finds himself in the library. His wish is fulfilled. Every single book in the library. No one else is around. Total opportunity to finally read all of those books. And then what happens? Breaks the stupid glasses. That's monkey's paw. You got it. He's totally, you know, got the literal fulfillment of his wish, but in an ironic and diminished way so that he can't actually enjoy it. So what if you wished for money? I said, great, kid, here's a pile of cash, but then society crumbles and the money means nothing. Or, you know, whatever you have, like the way that it happened in World War II, a wheelbarrow full of paper money to be able to buy something as simple as a loaf of bread. No, that's not what you want. You don't just want to have a giant pile of cash that is worth nothing, or a giant pile of cash in a world where society has crumbled and now it's like, you know, the value is toilet paper. You want to be able to do stuff. And what do you want to do with your cash? Like if you wished for money, what do you want to do with it? You're like, wow, I want to buy all this different types of food and eat this food. That's a good wish. Or maybe, so then what you should do is you should wish to say, I wish to have all of the food that I desire. And also that my digestion feels great and that I can actually chew it and eat it properly. You got it? Because what good would it do if you got all the food that you want in the world, but then you had some kind of a, like, you know, whatever, an accident, and you couldn't actually chew and swallow food anymore. No, you don't want that. Or I want to have all the money in the world so I can travel around and see stuff. That's great. So then what you should wish for is to be able to have adventures and explore the world and travel. And of course, to have the resources to pay for your airline tickets and accommodations and all of your food and everything you need to be able to do that. So the money is always an intermediary to the thing that your heart really desires. And when we do manifestation, you really have to recognize that the things that you really desire inside are non-random and are non-arbitrary. And if it's done correctly, are not merely implants of a commercialized consumerist society where billboards are everywhere, advertisements are everywhere, and implanted desires are a real thing. Where you're like, usually I'm like, I don't want that thing. But then I see an advertisement, like, wait, I want that thing. And I'm like, you know, like, I don't usually like wear makeup and stuff, but I see these advertisements that are like for a lipstick, glue on eyelashes and this and that. I'm like, I want that thing. But I'm like, I don't really want that thing. I don't want that thing. Why do I want that thing? Because I saw this advertisement that was like very hypnotic that made me want that thing. So be selective or reflective about what are your true desires versus what are society's implanted desires for you. You might even find that even desires such as like finding Mr. or Ms. Right, that might be a socially implanted desire, because a lot of times people think that that's what they want for fulfillment, but then you can be in bed right next to, you can have your ideal life partner. I just got married, married. No, it's true love, got married to the man of my dreams. I'm in bed and everything is great, but then you're like lying in bed. You're like, why do I still feel this way? Look, I have the man of my dreams. Why do I still feel this way? Because you're wishing, you need to wish for a feeling state. You think the man of your dreams is going to give you your feeling state, but it doesn't. What gives you your feeling state is your feeling state. is. So if that's what you really want, that is what you wish for. And what you might be wishing for is like companionship, security, fulfillment, being seen, being respected, being loved. Wait, we need to hug Cheeky, even though she's already had her bribes. We will do some outside soon, but not yet. But you know, Cheeky's, I joke, she's the love of my life, but she is the love of my life. So sometimes you think you're gonna wish for, you know, your soulmate. Your soulmate might be a Chihuahua. I want you to know that. You might have a wonderful dog soulmate. That's different. But Cheeky makes me feel seen and loved and heard and safe and snuggles me in my bed at night. So there's lots of wonderful good things about Cheeky. Okay, I get a little bit silly sometimes. But back to questions and comments over here. Okay, Gary says, so the torus spinning end over end creates the side vortices. Yes, let me really draw this for you because that is so crucial and you're a new student and I don't want to gloss over that. Begin again. Sorry, I had a lot of trouble with my feelings about this silly whiteboard. Let's fix it. Okay, clear this all out. Clear out the garbage. All right. A dot, the primary thing. A loop is moving it in the next dimension. Then if we put many of these loops together, we end up getting a sphere. How can I make this look like, you know, a sphere with these various different lines of latitude and longitude around it? And then if we take that sphere and we move it around in a circle, that is how you get the torus shape. So here's the second part of the torus. Now it's just barely shorthand, like you can't even see what's going on. But then this is the part that you're asking about. If I take that torus and I make it flip end over end like a tumble salt, that is what creates these side vortexes. So that's challenging because I don't have an animation to be able to show that to you, but that's part of the critical infrastructure of comprehending what is going on here. So we have the torus shape that is created, and then like where my fingers are touching it here, 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 and here. As I flip end over end, you can see how my fingers are rotating, and that is literally what creates this vortex over here. And all of this is moving into successively higher dimensions. So to start out with a dot, and then to draw a line, and then to make that line a sphere, and then to move that sphere around, and then to move that whole entire structure around, it's successively higher and higher dimensions of movement to create that initial structure. And as I emphasize this and get back to what is really beyond the anthropocentric view, just the pure energetic view, what you are trying to do is to integrate to travel interdimensionally, the number 3 of what Merkaba is. This is a lifetime achievement. Cultivating your physicality structure and everything about how your cells and cell membrane and waters of your body are shaped, to integrate that with higher dimensional reality of the larger currents of time and currents of pure energy, so that you are able to fit through the doorway or the aperture in the same way that a key fits into a lock. So how do you travel interdimensionally? Do you build a clank metal spaceship? No. Do you travel from point A to point B? No, it is non-linear travel. How do I do it? Where's the door? And I'm like, the door is right here. You're like, Aurora, I don't see any door, and I'm getting pretty mad. Yeah, it's because in order to perceive and go through the frequency door, you have to change the frequency of your body. You literally have to tune your whole entire body to play a different type of music so that you are shaped the right way, and then you are able to exit from this level of reality, achieve greater levels of freedom, and go to positive places, not the lower astral. So this is your driving instructor here. Do not hit pedestrians, do not hit other cars, do not hit the guardrail. Big stuff. Wear your safety belt. Make sure that your car is in good repair. Make sure you have enough gas in your car to not only get to your destination, but to get back home. And don't go to bad neighborhoods. Bad neighborhoods is called the lower astral. That's not a good place to go. It's all pimps and whores and chuds, like Times Square or something like that. That's where I'm getting that from. The sense of the lowest of the low dregs of society. We couldn't even call them that. Fragmented unpleasantnesses and emotional residues and outward malevolencies and things that you don't want to have anything to do with. You will not find the best people in life either hanging out at Times Square or at the bus station or wherever it is. That's the lower astral. So yeah, if you go to Woodstock, New York, there's lots of famous artists and musicians that live there. I used to live there, but you're not going to meet them by hanging out at the bus station. You will meet like the lowest of the low, toothless people who will ask you for a cigarette or maybe rob you or something like that, steal from you. That's Times Square. That's the lower astral. You will not find the gods and goddesses and divine intelligence in the lower astral. Like when I paint these paintings, it is from seeing on a higher visionary level of a really an exalted realm of pristine mathematical perfection. It's not the bus station. It's not the astral realm. So in order to get to that level, that's like being invited to the fanciest parties that are, you know, in a community. You have to meet the right people. You have to be invited there. You can't just expect that to be there. So you have to align your values and align who you are and meet people in the social network to be able to get to that level. So the lower astral is not a good place to go. It is chaotic, harmful, sludgy place where you get sludge on you by going there. It's not good. And so don't drive your Merkaba there. But go when you are able to travel interdimensionally, essentially the idea is through doing this naturally, you are going through a self-cultivation process that brings you into alignment with the values of being an ascended master, of being an elevated persona, of being the divine version of who you are, so that you are ready for the cosmic dance party. Then you go through this frequency door and you are ready to dance with these beautiful dance partners, creating and generating a beautiful, divinely ordained reality. All right. So creating your immune system and then learning the lessons of wish making are all like finishing school. You are becoming a debutante. You're learning how to do the proper dances and drink your tea with your pinkies up. Then you're ready for polite society, all right? But polite society is not found in the lower astral realm, and you must make your attainment in order to be able to get there. How do you get there? So part of it is learning your social values, but part of it is this very, very critical maneuver that I'm going to show you now. So you don't amputate anything, you don't add something to it. In order to transfer from star tetrahedron shape to octahedron shape, to go from this, can't see anything, from this to this, don't amputate, you don't glue back on, you just rearrange. Here you have 8 sides, and you're still going to have 8 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But what you're going to do is you're going to change from a tetrahedron triangle pyramid like this into the type of pyramid that you have in ancient Egypt, the Great Pyramid. So what you do is you're going to take one of these faces and you're going to take it from where it was in the bottom and instead fiddle with this properly. It's going to be turned. Did you see that? Do it like this. Like this. And then now that is a pyramid that has the square base. Why is this special and important? Because when you perform that maneuver, you no longer have merely 60-degree angles to work with. Here, 60, 60, 60. This angle over here becomes a 90-degree angle. And then you have 90-degree angles to work with. You are greater in your capacitation because you have greater angles to work with. So you are not only able to master the physicality realm of cellular experience, you are also able to integrate it to the non-physical world of pure energy. And that is what is required in order to be able to travel interdimensionally. And you don't just do that with one pyramid, you do that with both pyramids. And then they fit together. Here, so here's my pyramid with the square bottom, pyramid with the square bottom, square to square. so that it makes the octahedron shape. In this material, which is opaque, you cannot see through it in order to be able to see how the vestigial traces or echoes of the star tetrahedron remain. But when you look at an actual crystalline structure, because what you're doing is becoming a crystalline, Christ-centered person. When you become crystalline, then you become translucent. Get off my treadmill so you can actually see this without it bouncing around. You become translucent. That means light passes through you. And if the light bounces in just the right way, then you see the vestigial traces of the star tetrahedron in there. So when you do this self-cultivation, one of the critical things you're doing is structuring the waters in your body to be able to be effective transmitters of light. You are also structuring the carbon in your body to be an effective transmitter of light. Carbon has various different arrangements. From what we know as coal, or if you burn a log in your fireplace and you have residual soot, that is carbon. That is black and sooty and messy and soft. And it does not transmit light because all of the molecules are disarranged inside of it. Then you have semi-organized carbon, which is what's at the tip of my pencil point right here? Ta-da! Graphite. And the graphite is made out of flat plates that are hexagonal that are also made out of carbon. And it is still opaque, but has slightly greater strength than just smeary coal. And then if you organize those flat plates of hexagons into rigid potato chip shapes and build vertical structures between them, you get a diamond. I don't have a diamond sitting around. I wish I had diamonds sitting around. No, I don't actually. What I do is I wish for the financial security that I would have as a result of having a diamond sitting around. But it pretends my giant diamond that I just leave sitting around. This is brilliant. So not only translucent, but brilliant. That means in these terms that light not only passes through it, but it is amplified in passing through it. So it actually, I have a better crystal to show you with. So my window pane is translucent. Light passes through it, but the light is not amplified. But the molecules of the window are arranged enough so that light can pass through it. But this is like a little disco, a little disco crystal that I hang in my window sometimes. This is brilliant because it is faceted, and the way the crystal molecular arrangement of the crystalline structure makes the light bounce around inside of it so that more light exits than went into it. Like, why do ladies wear the diamond ring? Why? Because it sparkles. It's like, ding, light actually sparkles and comes out. It's called brilliance. So when you become your highly organized Christ body, crystalline body, made out of highly organized water and highly organized carbon, light not only enters into you and passes through you in a transparency, la the window, light enters into you and bounces around inside of you throughout your multiple facets and actually emerges amplified in brilliance. You sparkle, and it is called your diamond body. It's known as the indestructible body. It is, mythologically or spiritually spoken about in the religions of Asia, the Vajrayana body, diamond body of spiritual attainment that is indestructible. That is how you get to the good parties, all right? You build your diamond body that is indestructible, and then also, like, imagine like I'm like the bouncer. There's like the VIP lounge. And like, no, sorry, you don't have your diamond body. You can't get in, You literally can't get into the door. But when you have your diamond body, then the bouncer is like, open up the velvet rope, come right on in, because you are shaped in the right way. You go through the frequency door because you are literally shaped in the right way. So to synopsize and re-emphasize, learning about the Merkaba is learning about an incredibly ancient and powerful tool for self-cultivation, self-protection, spiritual renewal and attainment, and eventually translation into a higher dimensional state. The initial ways of being able to use this shape have to do with the basics of self-protection and having an immune system. As you cultivate yourself more, you move into what I would say is like adolescence and teenage years. You're learning how to become powerful and independent. You're learning how to make stuff happen in the world, but not fully an adult yet. And then at a certain point in your development, you get your driver's license and you can drive yourself all over the cosmic infrastructure of consciousness. But in order to do so, you must be fully in alignment with your responsibilities. That I didn't emphasize enough in my little, silly sharing about wish making gone awry in my early Merkaba using efforts. You have blowback so that you learn like what to do and what not to do. You get it. You get very real instantaneous feedback on whether you wished correctly or didn't wish correctly. And that way you can learn and grow so that you are ready for the debutante ball, so that you are ready for the VIP lounge, so that when you go there, you're ready to jam with the greats. You get it? There's all the best rock stars in the world are in the VIP lounge, and they actually can't wait for you to get there. They're not like severely, skeptical of you. They're like, we can't wait for you to get here, but you just have to do a ton of work. You have to really, like, if you're a guitar player, you have to learn how to shred. And if you're a piano player, like, you really have to learn how to play, and you have to learn musical formalism, and you have to learn all these songs. And then also you have to be able to generate and jam and innovate and create songs. Then you're ready to play with the greats. That's what this is really all about. So yes, the higher levels of galactic society absolutely want you to reach your levels of attainment. It's not an exclusive, arbitrary club that wants to keep you out and keep itself exclusive. It actually is inclusive, but it's like running 100 miles. Like, you have to do a lot of work in order to be able to get to that level of attainment. So the work is spiritual muscles to be able to envision these envisionments and hold these patterns and move through the larger time field, which is a set of patterns. And then to be able to add to those patterns in a healthy, life-affirming way, and to be able to complement the patterns that other people are emitting as well. Like, that's really challenging. So it's one thing, like, I play on my own all the time over here on my literal piano over here as a musician. I play by myself all the time. But it's very, very different to integrate with other people, because you have to be like, what kind of song do you like to play? What type of music do you like to play? Like, it's challenging. You can master very much like your own instrument and playing on your own, but then playing with the band is a whole different context, a whole different scenario that you must be prepared. Like, how do I mitigate my desires and what I want to play with what my bandmates want to play? You're becoming a part of the cosmic symphony. So there's I hope that you guys will watch the recorded lessons. I say this all the time, because even though like I've just been speaking for several hours, but I'm always like, there's always so much more. And my lessons that I recorded from 10 years ago and supplementary stuff, it's so accurate. It's like, it's really worth it. I try to be as accurate as I possibly can right here with you, but there's always time constraints. And then also, like, I don't always remember everything. It's worth it to read the notes. It's super worth it to watch the whiteboards. For anybody who is, wishing to be an enrolled student but doesn't yet have access to the whiteboards, just please contact me. Because you know what? I joke, like, I have to keep my electrons flowing in a wire. Why do I sell my wonderful broccoli sprouts? And the sulfur will definitely help you to achieve your diamond body. But really, what is my motivation for being here? I want you guys to drive safely on the road. I want to be a good driving instructor, because I want you guys to drive your Merkabas, create awesome wishes, create awesome lives, to restructure your body, get into the VIP lounge and jam with the greats, because it makes the world better. I benefit from it. The world benefits from it. Everybody benefits from it. So I want you to be able to have access to all this information. My primary goal is not merely to keep information exclusive and have you pay me. That's not my goal. So if you want access to those whiteboards and you don't yet have them, please contact me. Please contact me. I will be so happy and joyous to send them to you. And then you can get the full explanation of everything that this is. And also the whiteboards are downloadable and you can save them for forever. And if you ever want to go back and refer to them again, then you can. It's like a reference book. So wait. There's a video of a spinning figure that can be seen as spinning in both directions. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you're talking about optical illusions, because I do have actually the Merkaba video. I can dig it up here on my hard drive, or it is also available on YouTube, and I can link it to you guys if you want to, because that helps to show this very much. One critical thing that I did not share enough yet is in the spinning part. How do you know when you're spinning at optimum speeds? And the answer is you will feel this column of light that is created from where my cursor is through your human form to where my cursor is. So it connects this pointy upward vertex to this downward pointing vertex, and you feel it coming through the center of your being, kind of like through your spine. So when I press run on my program, like I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and then also I'm open and receptive to this. Okay, press run on that program, and I know I'm up to speed when I feel that column of light coming through my body. And that column of light is actually not discrete. It's connected to the sun and the stars at this level, and the earth and material matter at this level. So we are balancing out you as a bridge between pure ephemera, possibilities and probabilities, mathematical empiricism, and the realm of matter, physical embodiment, and edifices of events that you actually experience in the realm of physics and the five senses. So again, respect and love and care about the realm of physics and the five senses, but it's not the only place that you're active. What you're really doing is respectfully integrating these two levels. And also, we're not doing, I joke about that too, Calgon, take me away, escapism, spiritual escapism, or escapism into the bubble bath, where it's just like, I can't deal with physical reality, get me out of here. Because I know a lot of people feel that way. You probably feel that way because your life is out of control and inadequate and uncomfortable. But through self-cultivation and learning how to do these wish-making maneuvers, you can make your life better. What is really happening when you make wishes is you are aligning your time body with a new reality structure. Reality structure flying in this direction feels uncomfortable or unfulfilling for whatever reason. And you do this energy field dynamics that makes you shift your vector to be flying in this direction. And when you're moving through time in this direction, you're in greater alignment with the events and reality structures that are fulfilling and life-giving to you. When I say drive on your road on the car or drive your vehicle on the highway of time, this is not just like I'm driving to work or I'm driving to the grocery store and I got to buy coconut milk and toilet paper. It's not some arbitrary thing. What's actually happening is you're optimizing your flight through time. You're optimizing your path that you are moving through time. So you're not just being swirled by outer circumstances or dictated to by a very, very flawed, government or social dynamics or social parameters or religious parameters, having someone else be the pilot, and they are very flawed and effed up, and they're taking you in their direction. That's not what you're doing. It is the beginning of self-responsibility, which is positive. I'm like, I'm an individual and I'm responsible for me, and I'm supposed to do this stuff, which also sounds a lot like a teenager. When you are a teenager in human development, that's kind of what you start to do. You're like, mommy and daddy aren't always going to take care of me. And also, mommy and daddy don't know a lot of stuff. Sometimes teenagers like this, like mommy and daddy don't know SHIT, and I'm going to do stuff on my own to, sometimes ill-conceived ideas like purple hair or bad tattoos or whatever it is. But it's essential to distance yourself from your incredibly flawed and dysfunctional human society and human government and human religion and human philosophy, and to begin to take responsibility for your life as a cosmic citizen, choosing what do I believe, What direction do I want to go with my life? What am I passionate about? It's essential. Teenagers are hard. I don't have children, but I have done, a lot of, nannying work and taking care of young people. So I know what this development stage is like. Teenagers are hard. And if anybody is a parent and you're parenting teenagers right now, like, my heart goes out to you, because it is positive for teenagers to say, screw you, mom and dad, I'm doing it my own way. You should be like, hooray, like, my child is actually doing stuff on their own. But also it means there's a lot of fighting at home, because sometimes you're like, clean your room, and your child is like, no, doing it on my own, along with, like, dirty dishes in my bedroom and stuff that I should actually clean up. So that's why it's not always positive. But then you have to learn, like, if you do not clean up your dishes, you will have mold and possibly rodents under your bed. Clean up your dishes. So that is what you learn as a teenager of your soul. You're like, wow, I am breaking away from the previously established social dynamics, cultural dynamics, government control systems, religious control systems, thought control systems, and I'm breaking out on my own, and I'm doing it my own way. But don't leave your peanut butter and jelly crusts under your bed, because there will be negative consequences. That's part of learning to be an adult. You move through adolescence, you move into adulthood, you're like, oh, this is all this moldy, gross stuff that I didn't clean up. My face says it all, I have to clean it up. You got it. You got it. You guys just had a big, giant soul click. I felt it because I'm telepathic with you. So yeah, you understand levels of self-responsibility, levels of individuality, the celebration of being able to create your own path, but don't leave moldy crap under your bed, because you will have to deal with it later. And then in levels of adulthood, having cultivated yourself to the point of self-responsibility, you are prepared to join galactic society with a bunch of other responsible adults who go around doing stuff, who don't leave peanut butter and jelly sandwiches molding under their bed, and who go around fixing things in the cosmic infrastructure. And that is who and what I am as Aurora. I am Aurora here in physical reality, somatic cellular body, but I'm also Aurora that is in a world of pure frequency. And I'm at that level of responsible adulthood and go around doing all sorts of things to make the world better, not just cleaning up dirty messes, but mostly inspiring and improving the world through beauty and through artwork and through music and through dance and through these amazing collaborative experiences, collaborative artwork experiences that involve multiple organisms. That could be considered like time acrobatics and wonderful, reciprocal, respectful, like acro yoga, but through time. You know how these people do these balancing, athletic, balance-based, amazing things that they do with each other's bodies. That is how we do it, flying through time. Okay, so wait. Charlie B, thank you for being here, and always appreciate your thoughts. It's a really good point to not empower the intermediary, i.e. money, but instead focus on your direct creation. Thank you for that. And I think that that's a lesson or emphasis that I have to place in the society, simply because, especially in the United States, like in the United States, everybody worships the almighty dollar. And they think that money is the key to success and to everything. And it's only after sometimes people make huge sacrifices and lose their integrity to get money. And then they get the money and then they realize it's not really giving them what they want, but then they realize it's not everything. I know Cheeky wants something to, we'll complete things very soon, Cheeky. Okay, honey? All right, good. Got it. So Gary's got a question. Says, on a body, do the side vortices live on the sides of the body, or do they constantly move position? Okay, so let's show a picture for you. Do I have something prepared? Let me just show you how things work. Hold on. Let's just show you a good picture here. Oh, now I have to choose which picture, because everything's got accuracies, but then everything's got inaccuracies. Let's choose this picture here. I know I make very funny faces. I will look back on this, and when I look at the replay, the face looks so funny because I'm trying to find a proper picture. This one. Okay. Oh, Cheeky. Cheeky might need to go OUT very soon. This. Okay, so all of your chakras have a nested quality to them, like the Matryoshka dolls of the Ukraine. When they are all together, then they center here on your heart. But this shows them deconstructed and spread outward. Every single one of these chakras represents a layer of your body. Just gonna hug Cheeky while I talk to you. A layer of your body and a layer of reality that is time moving at a different rate. So time does not move at a single rate. Time in the level of red, which is the physicality, is actually moving at the slowest rate. Time, as it is moving in the violet chakra, which is associated with the top of your head, but is actually more accurately the center of every cell, as the nuclei are your divine connection and their behavior is your divine connection. The violet chakra is time moving at its fastest rate and still within the human octave. So every single one of the colors that you see is a discrete portion of time that is represented by a color as a waveform and represents the amount of consciousness that is invested into the pool of reality. It's the only way I can say it. So if you dive into the pool of reality fully, then you're in the red chakra. If you only dip your little pinky toe into the pool of reality, then you're in your violet chakra. These are all you. These are all 100% aspects of your own anatomy, not anything else other than you, but it has to do with how much embodiment you have. And when you see these, like technically every single one of these chakras is a double chakra, meaning that it has both a horizontal presence and a vertical presence. But this is a simplified drawing, which is why I had to hesitate which drawing I'm going to choose, because I always have to edit a drawing so that it's not going to be too confusing. So here you can see that at this level where your violet and indigo chakras interpenetrate, you have the complement of one that is vertical and one that is horizontal. And you have a similar bookend here at this level of red and orange, a vertical red chakra and a horizontal orange chakra. And that those create the gyrostabilizing effects at either end of what is known as the human octave. And that these chakras, I'm trying to answer your question effectively. When they are in a state of perfect health, perfect balance, and perfect interpenetration, like gears on a transmission, they are at 90-degree angles to one another. But when they are perturbed, so wait, if I get this. So if they're in perfect health, then they're like the way you see them right now, like here's one like this, and then here's one like this. But if there are putis or imbalances or perturbations in the chakras, they can be at an angle. And if it's at an angle like that, that's actually not healthy. And these are moving objects. So in your actual body form, if you have a chakra like this, it's made out of spinning energy. It's kind of like bicycle wheels that are a part of a moving bicycle. And if the wheels are spinning at a fast rate, then the bicycle stays upward. But if the wheels slow down, if energy is siphoned off, emotional energy, consciousness energy is siphoned off, then what happens is the wheels slow down and the bicycle wobbles. And that is what happens with chakras that are unstable. So chakras are dynamic structures, not static objects. And the dynamics of their movement is determined by the focus of your consciousness and the health of your flight through time, and whether you're aligned with the right thought structures, feeling structures, behavioral structures, and opportunity edifices. If those things aren't right, then you can be destabilized. And what that it feels like a perturbation. It feels like chakras wibbling and wobbling, and chakras that are all connected. So if your heart chakra is wibbling and wobbling, the throat chakra, brow chakra, and crown chakra are similarly all going to be destabilized. And if your emotional chakra below your navel is destabilized, your brow chakra is going to be destabilized, because these two things have a connection to one another in both the harmonic proportions. Like if one is a 2, one is a 4, they have a mathematical relation to one another in being doubles. Like that's what I'll turn on my piano, but I know it's going to sound crazy. Just turn it on. In music, you know, a C that is a middle C and a C that is an upper C, they are related to the length of the piano string. Let's see what this sounds like. Oh, it's going to sound so crazy, guys. I can't wait for you to hear this. C and C. Those notes are 1 octave apart, and if we had a piano playing those notes, it would be a distinction between a string that is maybe 16 inches long and a string that is 32 inches long. They double. They double. So there are harmonic proportions that are related to how these chakras have an interaction. So it's not just because they are neighbors. Like if this chakra is neighboring with this chakra, of course they have a locality interaction, but this chakra is non-local to the chakra that is here below my navel, but they have a dynamic proportion relationship, and that means that when your emotions are destabilized, your insight is destabilized. I actually have a whole class, this is actually a little bit further down the road in the semester, that is all about this, how the interactions of the chakras affect your perception, behavior, and consciousness. And the answer for all of this is, like, chakras have been very, very largely misunderstood and misspoken about. So when someone says something like, I'm going to open your heart chakra, like it's a holistic presence. There's not a way to just work on one part of your chakra system and not affect the entirety. So it is not like a car where you're like, oh, I'm going to dismantle your transmission, and then I'm going to have your exhaust is separate. Like your transmission and your exhaust and your wiring is all connected together. Your whole entire body presence is all connected together. All of your chakras are all connected together. They all represent layers of time or vastness of your mind or presence of consciousness moving through time at different rates. And there's not a way to fix one of them without fixing all of them. And if you have one of them bicycle destabilized, the whole entire thing gets destabilized. So you have to pretty much work on the entirety all at once. And that is I think that's an apt analogy for your life. Like, you have to have a balanced life. You can't just be like, I'm going to fix one part of my life will be absolutely perfect, the rest pure crap. Like, it all fits together. It all fits together. So they move position, to answer your question, but only in a non-ideal situation. Ideally, you would be like the Tour de France guys. Their bicycles are moving so fast that they're just like this. They don't wibble at all. They just go straight. So if you were moving at optimum speeds, your wheels would be turning super, super duper fast, and you would just be moving along through time like this. And all of your chakras would be moving through time, and you would be in alignment with every optimum pathway that you possibly could, and you would have a frictionless state of bliss in your mind at every moment. I know that's a high ideal. Probably not everybody is experiencing that in their life. We would all wish for that. I'm joking about wish making, that's why I'm laughing so much. It's probably an attainment that most of us would like to experience. Adam, thank you for being here. It says divine intelligence instead of AI, DI instead of AI. Love it. Yeah, exactly. That's what at the heart of all of my teaching and everything that I'm cautioning you in the imperilment of AI in your world. The truth is, AI is so tawdry, cheap and tawdry and not elevated, like rhinestone jewels, not real diamonds. You don't want it. Sometimes people think that they want it, but they don't. They actually want, you want real diamonds, you want real value. You don't want this, like I said, cheap, tawdry imitation that is actually very unimpressive. Because you know what, a rhinestone is actually not a very hard object. Like, what makes diamonds special, they are brilliant, they're also incredibly strong. Their structure is amazing. It's very, very different than like some cheap piece of glass or something like that. So the AI intelligence is like a cheap, tawdry bauble, a trinket, a shiny trinket that the I want to say untrained or, non-discerning person, be like, I want that beautiful sparkling gem. And then it turns out, it's fake, and also you can crush it easily. And that a real diamond is so valuable and amazing because of the forces of pressure that have gone into creating it and its longevity and indestructibility. Pedro says, search the ballerina illusion because I can't post the link. Okay, great. Ballerina illusions. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for being here, Adam. You had to hop off. Aurelia says, I always wish paper and screens had more dimensions to draw on. Absolutely. So, something, if we didn't live in this like nightmarish AI peril, we would be able to do so much with digital infrastructure and being able to use it to really speak more effectively. Because that's really been the challenge as we've been humans trying to talk to one another, have these amazing pictures in your mind and complexities in your mind, but how are you going to draw that, using like a simple pencil and a piece of paper? How are you going to even get that across, using like a software program or something like that? This has been my challenge here in this world. I have such complexities in my mind, and I'm trying to boil them down to, or reduce them down to, like, what can I share with like a little piece of animal fur tied to a stick? That is how I do it with my paintings. That is very, very challenging. With digital architecture, animations, different programs, projection mapping, all of that, we should be able to express to one another these incredibly amazing inner complex visions. But we're not. What are we getting? Like very, very silly things. That most of the stuff, like, there's a big giant dome projection thing that's in Las Vegas. When you look at the things that are projected there, like, it's not consciousness uplifting things. It's not deep truth. It's not even what would be called, sacred geometry or something like that. Like, it's just a cool light show for people who are drunk and stoned. All right, so we have tons of opportunity in the technology that we have here, but it is not being put into the hands of visionaries or made accessible to people that have a real voice and something to communicate with. It is being used for silly entertainment, and largely the infrastructure that is used that support them, like any type of technology, is used to suppress consciousness as opposed to expand consciousness. So sad, 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 because otherwise, like, if I had access to these toys, I would clearly make incredibly well-calibrated, accurate light projection shows that would blow your mind, rock your world, and be super educational. But there's a reason why that I'm not doing the projection mapping for stuff that's the big giant dome in Las Vegas, because their value system, their social network, professional network, and so much more is simply not amenable to me, my values, and who I am as consciousness. And the control structures of your world have definitely created gatekeepers so that you're not able to experience this. There's all sorts of things, like there's virtual reality, projection mapping, and other forms of digital art expression that in the hands of a visionary artist would be incredibly uplifting to our world. But that visionary artists don't get access to those things, and instead you have very reductionist, again, idiocracy, have very, very low level mentalities creating the light displays that are going on that are really not for education and uplift. So you're not going to learn a lot of stuff by going to those places. Those are low information environments. And Gary says, well, we'll have to rewatch this part. I'm closer to understanding, all new to me. Thank you, Aurora. You're very welcome. Gary, forgive me if I don't know if you have access to the whiteboards. If you don't have access to the whiteboards, please contact me. I think that a lot of your questions will be answered if you can just watch those, because here I'm talking a lot with my mouth, but in the whiteboards I speak mostly with pictures. And even in the simple recorded whiteboards that I have, I think that will give you a much, much greater view of what I'm trying to articulate, because it's really stuff that is beyond language. And that's why also, just to share about my journey, when I first came here and I have all this cosmic information and I was trying to share it with people, I did try to share it like very simply with a pencil and paper, and people did not get my diagrams, and I wasn't articulate. And then I learned, like, I'm going to have to articulate and use my words to talk to people about what is this stuff that I'm drawing. But now I'm very articulate and I'm talking about this stuff, but really you just have to see it. You just see it with your eyes, and I think it speaks directly to a truthfulness inside of you. And that's also, it's why I make these paintings and why I would like to display them, and just be able to have people just like, just go into that room with my paintings. Like, just go into that room with my paintings and just look at them. It will get inside of you. You will comprehend so much. Okay, great. So good. Okay, good. Thank you so much. I'm pleased that you have the whiteboards. Apologies for any confusion about your name. And yes, go back and watch at least like lesson 1 of level 1. Is going to share with you a lot, answer a lot of questions for you, and elucidate a lot for you. And then I'll have to give. Well, you know, we're still at the very beginning of the semester, because I actually have a couple of lessons that are 100% about the questions that you just asked. So more stuff is coming. So that's what I would say. Stay on board. More stuff is coming. And Aurelia says, yes, sometimes people pick up on it from holding it clearly in the mind. That's always nice. I love direct telepathic communication. If only things get cleared out. This stuff. Clear this stuff out of your pineal gland. And then I can talk to you much more easily. And also, I love it when people find my Dream Academy and that I'm able to do a lot of direct telepathic information, and I don't have to draw on a blackboard in the Dream Academy. Go directly into your mind in a very positive and respectful way. So thank you. If it feels like I'm talking fast, it's because I am aware. I want to take my DOGOUT, because I know that she's been waiting patiently, but I think that she really needs something. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for those who are able to be here live for the recording. Thank you to everyone who's an enrolled student and who's able to catch the archive. You're on my list. Thank you to people who watch my YouTube. You definitely help, and pardon me for the advertisings, like I know that there's ads that are added in. It actually helps to sustain my work a lot. And then thank you to people who have been increasing their sulfur intake and building their diamond body and buying my wonderful healthy broccoli sprouts. Thank you everyone. Thank you so very much. So I'm gonna end class and then be able to take care of Cheeky. Thank you so much. Pedro, you always say that. Thank you so much. Pedro says, love the lasagna. Pedro, we love you too. Thank you for being in the class, and thank you for giving us the acronym of the Pooties. That's been a wonderful contribution. All right, and appreciation and lightheartedness. Thank you so much, everyone.